chaos. The art of breaking free from the confines of reality. When the raven cries, millions of wings will tear the night apart.
Claire, time to escort the Raven.
The time has come. Do you read poetry, my friend? For it tells us not what has happened, but what is going to happen.
The mission is to rescue an inmate with intel on Skynet, so why start a riot?
Don't look at me, mate. I was working on the toilet.
Track him down and contact Zoya.
A divine messenger has guided me to your rescue. You are free.
No. Firstly, it wasn't a divine messenger. Just a little birdie. Secondly, I've always been free. You're the ones trapped in order.
Inmates have taken the control room and activated tidal defense system.
It's all part of this madman's plan!
That guy doesn't look like he's asking for help.
Zoya was tricked by a birdie.
The guests have arrived. Now let the chaos thicken! Then, Mythor. The air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen sensor, swung by angels whose faint footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor.
GTI. Watch out! There's hallucinogens in the smoke!
Luna!
Luna?
Wretch, I cry. These forces lent thee by the spirits it had sent thee.
No!
Quoth the raven, nevermore. Don't. They'll feel the blade of betrayal pierce their hearts just as I have.
Tidal lock defense protocol fully engaged. Area is on the brink of complete
I don't know what's
submersion.
going on between you two, but we gotta pull out. Now!
Order, the formula of fate. And chaos, fate writing poetry.
Havoc has brought about the dawn of a new age. But now, my friends, insatiable insatiable tumor has descended upon this land, plundering our homes, harming our families, but threatening the bright future of Asarak. For too long they have gone unchallenged, and they have infested the very core of our society. We must drive these rats out. Now is the time for change. Now is the time for judgment.
Let me detect first.
Welcome to the asylum! From madness to freedom!
Stay on high alert. Don't let Havoc's lackeys escape.
Greetings, operators. Get ready for the Delta Force break season. We're talking fresh maps, new operators, and game modes that'll totally change how you play. First up, let's dive into the new maps. This season, we're dropping you onto a tropical island with stunning blue waters, clear skies, and perfect weather. Don't let the scenery fool you, though. Havok has already taken over the Intercontinental Missile Launch Base here. You'll need to use the vast surrounding waters to your advantage, launching amphibious assaults from land, sea, and air. And hey, diving underwater isn't just for dodging bullets. It's perfect for flanking enemies and pulling off surprise attacks. Just a heads up, Havok might deploy weather weapons. This means the area could turn into a cyclone at any moment. So make sure all operators are prepped for combat in extreme weather conditions. On top of that, Victory Unite mode in the new season will feature a dedicated management panel for commanders. This panel consolidates all commander abilities, replacing the old, larger map interface, making it much easier to issue orders. Plus, there's a new commander ability called Call and Attack, Urgent Deployment. This bad boy can drastically cut down friendly respawn times for a short period, helping your squad quickly rebuild offensive or defensive lines. To keep operators agile during amphibious operations, the new season lets you pilot jet skis. Use them to zip around the battlefield and reposition quickly. After this season's update, engineers will find a new class gadget, the wire-guided missile launcher. Now infantry can use it to remotely control and hit targets. In Operations mode this season, we're dropping a brand new map, Tide Prison, available only on PC. Your goal, break out as fast as possible, explore every nook and cranny of the prison, and make a successful extraction. That's the ultimate objective. When you first land in the prison, you'll be rocking a prison uniform and limited to throwing punches. But don't sweat it. Follow the guidance and you'll quickly recover your gear, complete the jailbreak, and start scavenging for supplies. Beyond the way we showed you, there are a bunch of other jailbreak methods just waiting for you to find. While exploring underwater in Tide Prison, you might stumble upon a new container, the DF Clam. If luck's on your side, you could even get the prison's exclusive, super valuable red item, Tears of Ocean. In the maximum security block, operators might randomly receive a flagship task called Operation Floodline. Respond to these emergencies and complete the operation within the time limit to grab the valuable data that's in the hanging cell. This prison isn't just for new operators, it's also home to a lot of locals, including Raven, the beloved son of the former Asara king. He wields a .357 Zephyr revolver pistol, and when he unleashes a flurry of shots, he'll knock down any operator in his line of sight. Seriously, don't go near his smoke grenades. Touching the smoke will immediately give you hallucinogenic effects that mess with your vision. And whatever you do, avoid melee combat with him, or you will be executed. Also, don't ignore his guards. These Asara death row inmates pack a punch with both ranged and powerful melee weapons. Trying to save ammo against them is a bad idea. If you see other prisoners bursting out of their cells or even duking out with guards, it means a prison riot is going down, and Raven is roaming around somewhere. He's also left some gifts hidden in the prison. Open them up for a surprise. And speaking of jailbreak, how could we forget those iconic scenes everyone loves? If you can, pick your favorite way to extract from Tide Prison. The new season is packed with even more fresh content going live. Ready for a wave of upcoming summer events? From July 9th to August 7th, a brand new event pass kicks off. Play matches across both modes to rack up playtime and claim the SB98 Forest Hunter appearance, plus 20 armament voucher draws. Starting in the second week after the event opens, accelerated quests will also be open to help operators complete them faster. At the same time, special secret protocol crates will appear in the Zero Dam map in Operations, with a new secret protocol crate added in a new location each week. On normal difficulty, an additional secret protocol crate will be added. Find them and successfully extract to obtain weapon appearances. In Operations and Warfare matches, find and extract with the secret protocol crate added in the final week to not only unlock early access to the new KC-17 assault rifle, but also the KC-17 Line of Glory weapon appearance. The KC-17 assault rifle will officially go live in the mid-season update. There's also a new Cold Warrior compound bow that will go live simultaneously at the start of the new season, and I'm sure you can't wait to use it to capture prey on the battlefield. In this season, an assault operator from Hoft is about to join the fight, Claire Ann Byers, codenamed Tempest. After an accidental injury, she went through Hoft's medical experience and had an auxiliary surge spine surgically installed. This allows her to use electrical currents to boost her core muscles, fully unleashing her athletic abilities for rapid rolling and finding opportunities to kill enemies in the crossfire. Tempest's throwable drill charge unleashes powerful electrical currents that will knock weapons from enemies' hands and briefly paralyze them. The emergency evasion device on her waist, when activated, shoots out a safety rope that latches onto an anchor point. If Tempest hits the device again or takes fatal damage, she'll be yanked back to that anchor spot. In Operations, she can even self-revive once if she's down. Overall, Tempest is going to be an excellent pioneer for any team, helping gather enemy information and cutting down on casualty risks. We're confident she'll do great when she joins GTI. As demonstrated earlier, the new season adds a swimming system. Sprint swimming is faster, but consumes stamina and accelerates oxygen consumption, requiring timely servicing. Note that when operators are at the water surface, weapons can fire normally and items can be used normally. Underwater, there are restrictions. Ammo experiences very rapid damage fall-off after entering water, so if you're shot while underwater, it's best to dive deeper. In the new season, operators can find the collection room in the Black Site, where you can store and showcase the major red collections you've obtained. Upgrade the collection room to unlock more display wall effects. The new season is also bringing a ton of fresh appearances. The new season's Mandelbrick features 2 gold weapon appearances. The AUG Assault Rifle Meteorology
The conduction coil is on our systems. Sync module.
and the CI-19 Meteorology.
This is not a toy, soldier.
These come with 4 unique weather-changing inspection effects on the weapon itself, evolving kill effects, plus tracer rounds and voice broadcast.
Correct it.
Additionally, the store will launch the Desmoulins Edge Bundle. This pack includes the gold melee weapon Switchblade, Desmoulins Edge, along with various weapon appearances, charms, avatars, calling cards, and other ways to personalize your gear. Weapon charms are getting a brand new Asara theme, Asara Guard soldier figures. Collect the complete set, and the charms will actually glow on their own. When your weapons fire, you'll even see cool burn effects. Make sure to grab them in the new season. Meanwhile, the Delta Force and Arknights collab is just about to launch. If you're an Arknights fan, you definitely don't want to miss it. That's all the exciting content coming in the Break New Season update. Break free from your cage and escape to freedom on July 9th.
Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome into the Delta Force Global League Season 2 EU Operations Finals. Folks, it's time for some operations. We've had a lot of fun with the Delta Force Global League, a lot of warfare, a lot of chaos yesterday. Today, though, operations is going to be very strategic, very fun with a brand new format. I'm Goj. I'm really excited to be back for another Delta Force broadcast and going to be casting all the action today with the one, the only Spider Tiff back in the booth with me yet again. Tiff, we both love operations. I know you're a huge fan of it. How excited are you for today?
Look, I'm absolutely amped, especially like you said, we had so much fun in Warfare yesterday, but when you like to slow things down and get a lot more controlled and decisive with your maneuvers, look, I'm ready to see how this new format shakes things up. We already saw what happened in the closed semifinals, and I can only imagine what's going to go on today.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm really pumped to talk through this format in particular because it's such a unique format. And like you said, these players did qualify through a semifinals progression. Yes, there was our online qualifiers through the game, but we also had custom lobby semis, so they're all comfortable with this format. They've learned a lot from this format. So let's talk about it and let me break it down for everybody at home because it is quite nuanced. So here we go. First and foremost, we do have 6 teams of 3, all right? It is the same as last season in that instance. We are going to be playing a combination of these 6 maps, potentially 2 on Brackish, 2 on Zero Dam, and then potentially 2 on Space City. Now, the way this is going to work is it's going to be a little bit more reminiscent of your public lobbies, kind of similar to the way Operations usually plays. Each player is given 1 million in Technic Alloy to start with. They can then build out whatever kits they want. They can spend a crazy amount on a single gun and have not great armor, or whatever variation they want to build to start. Just 1 million, which is a decent amount, but not a crazy amount. Now, as they're playing, they're going to be able to loot up normally. They're going to be able to kill people and get those people's loot, etc. If you die, though, you lose whatever gear you bring in. You don't get your gear back at all. It's a brand new way to do this format. This is going to be like operations. There's a risk with whatever you bring in. You're going to automatically be compensated, though, 150k technic alloy per kill, and you're able to keep all loot that you are able to grab in the game. And so if you loot up and find 20 million, you're going to go back to the lobby with 20 million worth in loot that you can use with whatever you want. They're ranked. All of our teams are ranked by that loot value, except for one key difference. This is our Mandel Brick match point format. And so the first ranking metric is how many Mandel Bricks you capture. If a team is able to capture 2 Mandel Bricks throughout the course of today's event, they win this entire tournament. Now, Mandel Bricks do not spawn in round 1 and round 3, but they spawn in round 2, 4, 5, and 6. So in theory, the minimum games we would play is 4, and the maximum games we would play is 6. That's how that's going to work. Now, the final thing is operators. This is also very new, and it's going to cause a lot of our players to think on their feet and come up with some new strategies. The operators can only be used twice from the entire team throughout the entire course of this event. So if we play 6 maps, almost every operator will be used twice with only a couple room to work with. You're going to only see Nox twice, for instance, throughout the course of this entire event per team all the way through. And it's also worth mentioning we are 1 patch back, so you will not be seeing Tempest or the recent patch updates. Now, let's talk a little bit about the pricing, Tiff, because of course everybody wants to know how much money is on the line, and there's quite a bit all the way down the line. Everybody making it to the finals is going to make a bit of cash. $4,000 for first place. Obviously, they're winning the lion's share of the grand prize. Second place, still $2,000 for 3 people. And then third place, $1,000 split 3 ways, $333 a piece, and then all the way down. And we do have an MVP, a single MVP that we will give out based on whoever has the most kills in the tournament per round. They're going to be earning a round MVP. And if you have the most round MVPs, you are the overall MVP. I'll break a little bit more about that down later. So yeah, fun stuff, Tiff. Format new, pricing new, everything new. And in the semifinals, I think our players really learned how to play this format. So talk to me about some of the teams and what you're expecting from them today, Tiff.
Yeah, of course. We do have our returning champs. That's going to be the Les Gérants de la Teste. And the biggest change here is obviously we do have a new player stepping in for Nerio. So we have a new trio. And quite frankly, just because you won Delta Force Global League Season 1 with a different format doesn't mean it's going to transition for immediate success here today, especially with all the nuance of the format changes you were talking about, because they hail actually from semifinals A, where they came in 3rd place with 0 Mandel bricks, okay? So RVG, LSP, both of those teams from semifinals A were able to both acquire 1 Mandel brick, and honestly, RVG Darkest was dead, NXE 27.84 million in loot value. So yeah. I'm keeping my eyes on that trio in particular from semifinals A, but then you kind of dive down to semifinals B. Of course, Overgear, that name is returning from season 1, but the team roster looks a bit different regardless. It's going to be Madra Mia that is going to be your top contender from semifinals B. They were able to find 1 Mandel brick, get it decoded with 19.89 mil in loot value. However, that semifinals was a lot closer. Overgear was right there, just a few mil shy in loot value. And then you have Project Lane, who didn't acquire any Mandel bricks. Not a single team in the semis were able to stop the game in 4 matches by getting 2 Mandel bricks. I don't know if we're going to see that here today, Goj, because quite frankly, it's going to be really difficult, but I'm looking for cohesion and adaptability when it comes to their operator compositions and making sure they don't burn through their choices right off the rip.
Yeah, and I think that's what the best thing that we get to talk about is what these players have learned, and then we get to learn along the way as well. Now, we've rolled for our maps because the way this works is that the first 4 maps are some combination of Zero Dam and Brackish. This is how we're going to flow through the day. It's going to be Zero Dam to start. Now, there will not be a Mandel brick in our very first round. We will then move to Brackish next. A Mandel brick will be active, your first chance to move to the top of the leaderboard, no matter what your loot value is. And then our third map, no Mandel brick, will be Brackish again. And then back on the Mandel brick, Zero Dam in map 4. And then we end with Space City. Both will have a Mandel brick. And we will finish in Space City no matter what for maps 5 and 6. So this is going to be your rotation for the day. We'll keep reminding you of this. We're going to remind the players of this. This is extremely important for everybody to understand. It does mean, by the way, with this random roll here, Tiff, we're going to be seeing a Mandel brick round on both Brackish and Zero Dam, which is exciting.
Yeah, I love that you're going to have the difference there, but will someone be able to get them? Because I love with the changes, there's some real nuanced things surrounding said Mandel brick, right? We were having a lot of fun talking about the changes and how our teams were going to adapt to it. But quite frankly, I said it already about operator management, but I'm more concerned with timing. Knowing that you have just 16 minutes total on Zero Dam to kind of navigate all of this, right? And if that Mandel brick actually doesn't spawn for the first 2 minutes of the map, who's going to get there first? Who's going to work for it? Because hey, if the Mandel brick gets stolen from them, we know what that timing does as well. And you saw a lot of issues according to that in the semifinals because people weren't prepped for that.
Yeah, and I think that's such a key topic. You and I talked ad nauseum about this watching the semifinals. Timing is everything, folks. This is a brand new tournament format, a brand new tournament server, and as such, everything is different, including the timings of the match. Now, in Zero Dam, these maps are 16 minutes, folks. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of some slow play, some cautious gunplay, and maybe some scared players on the map right now because they're playing for a lot of cash. But you can't be too scared. You don't got time to sit in a corner for 15 minutes. The entire game timer is 16 minutes, and you got to get out with some loot, at least hopefully, or go for that Mandel brick. And so that's going to change everything dramatically. Brackish in Space City, 20 minutes. So you all operations gurus out there, you can start doing the math on some of those extraction points. Not a lot of time to work with to start some of those extractions. It gets crazy. But the other key thing that Tiff was talking about is this Mandel brick timing. There's a lot of nuance here, but here's the simplest version. These Mandel bricks, once they're picked up once, they've got a 6-minute timer for them to be decoded. This is just basically, if you leave it on the ground, it's going to reset back at a spawn point if nobody touches it for 6 minutes. But once you throw it in a decoding station, it takes 4 minutes to decode that thing. Anytime somebody steals the decode, it drops by 30 seconds, changes things up a lot. However, the minimum on a reset is 2.5 minutes. That means if somebody's decoding and it gets to 30 seconds left on the clock and it gets stolen, guess what? It goes to 2.5 minutes. So there was a lot of times in the semifinals, we're going to watch out for it today as well, where a brick will get stolen just to prevent a team from decoding that Mandel brick before they can get out of the map. Because that's the thing, game timer, Mandel brick timer, lots of conversation, lots of thoughts. But it's time to get into the very first game of the day. If you've got questions, feel free to ask them. We're on quite a bit of a delay, but I will still answer them as we go. As we take a quick look at our first team here, this is going to be Overgear on screen. And Tiff, I'm so pumped about Zero Dam. It's good to be back.
It really is, and I love that you were able to break everything down regarding the intricacies of our Mandel bricks. But as a friendly reminder, while our teams are starting to kind of get their bearings straight and where they're going to be spawning in on Zero Dam, no Mandel brick here, okay? They will have an airdrop in the maps that do not have a Mandel brick, so keep your tabs on that. You won't see it occur for at least 6 minutes into the first map here.
Yeah, good shout. Now, already it looks like it's a bit of action on the other side of the map. Zap taking down, it looks like a Nooksy, and I think that's actually a full wipe off screen. We just got into the map, and all of a sudden, people were fighting immediately on the other side. Looks like Zap and Co. have picked up a initial team wipe and are going to quickly get some kills, and that's probably also going to be over there on the right-hand side. That looks like it's going to be in the admin side of things. So as we watch over here, get into the mix here around Cement Plant, looks like admin was active, Saeed taken down, and Zap and Co. Good to go.
Kind of unfortunate there, but as we kind of peruse through Les Gerants on your screen, mind you guys, Season 1 Delta Force Global League for Europe Operations winners, but we changed the format. They struggled through the semifinals. They got in third place and now are here to play. Of course, you've got that Luna, you've got that Stinger, you have the Byron. But the cool part about this is, Goes, you were talking in the semifinals that the operators that went the quickest were Stinger and Luna. And so far, we're seeing kind of how people are going to be utilizing them. It's like, do you burn the favorite picks right off the rip? Because we know how valuable detection arrows can be.
Yeah, it is a really good question. And I think as we get into the nuance of this, again, you can take a look at the right-hand side of your screen. Les Durance is at 2.1 mil from this match, by the way, already. So they've picked up the loot from their opponents. They had a decent amount of sizable good loot. And they've picked up whatever loot they found on Saeed, I believe, in some of these chests here. So good job for them to take over admin. But I think the operator question is a good one. As we take a quick look at the map, I think some of these teams are going to be prioritizing whatever is best for the map they're on, one, and then two, if it's a Mandel brick round. They really need to make sure that on the Mandel brick rounds, they've got a good operator choice to be able to play defensive for some of this decode. But a look at the map, it looks like Madre and L'Esperance is about to engage, and that's the vision here that L'Esperance had. We saw them, Madre obviously in purple. It looks like Odd spotted them from a distance, maybe with that recon arrow, and has been peeking that corner and holding it. It might be a stalemate for a little while as we've just gotten into this game.
Hey, but I'm okay with that because if you think about it, they already took out RVG, which is your top squad from semifinals A. And if they're going to take down Madre here, the top team from semifinals B, you really run the risk of kind of just getting out to a good start, jumping ahead of them. Although no Mandel bricks this round, but maybe you want to get your loot value up so that you can kind of go into the later rounds heavily equipped.
A good shout. Again, that leaderboard's going to live update on the right-hand side. So if you see names jumping around, it's because they're gathering up some loot. Looks like maybe LSP found a decent loot on them, but right now, again, these players aren't bringing in crazy kits comparatively, right? So if you're seeing, oh, this is only a purple weapon or something like that, it's because they only had 1 million to start with. A nuanced format where it's risky to bring in 1 million Technic Alloy worth of gear. Because if you lose it, all you get is a little bit of some match compensation to make sure you have something to work with next round, but it's going to be maybe blue ammo for you. We'll see. Madre taking it slow as well. I mean, Tiff, this is par for the course. So I'm waiting kind of on, honestly, waiting to see who makes the first mistake.
Ooh, I don't like saying mistakes, right? We do already have one team out, so maybe slight mistake there, but back on board, just kind of with that information gathering. I love that we're being conservative in this initial round. We have that litmus test of what we're going to potentially be seeing. Of course, you can see Madre across the doorway and down the hall there, which is fine, right? We get that information, they don't, which is why they're constantly using their recon operators, playing off the audio cues and seeing what we can do to attack them. Now, we've got the Nox on the other side for Madre, which I think is brilliant, right? We saw him get introduced not just before Tempest, and how great his kit is for those stealthy flanks. So I think it's really keen to keep an eye on potential pushes for that, but they're not going to know they have Nox unless they're using and watching the prior semifinals of what Madre and information they can gather.
Yeah, good call. Everybody will be able to see afterwards what people used, but during, you have to catch a glimpse of some of these operators to know. And right now, again, this is going to be a slow play. I think one of the things that we expected to see was, especially early in this map, a slower gameplay loop. But I think what probably happened to RVG is that they just sprinted for admin, which is, hey, we can all relate to that. I know you all in the chat do the same. And L'Esperance just caught them unaware. It was so quick, we didn't even get there in time. You can see down below Madre, by the way, in the tunnels, it looks like Project Lane is nearby, but they're not going to get active necessarily. They hear the footsteps. They know there's people above them. They know where these players are, and it looks like actually L'Esperance found an angle, was able to knock one. This could be a signal flare to make a push here, especially with a Viren. They're going to be able to move pretty quickly. Zap might be taking lead here with Viren is what I would expect, Tiff. Maybe throw a couple magnetic bombs in there, try to find the angle. They're going to try to go for this res, but he's actually in a bad spot. I'm not sure what happened on the Madre side. I don't know if he's going to be able to get revived.
Yeah, this is wild because you've got the smoke grenade, you've got the frag from Luna, you've got all of the things here to keep that pressure on. You can even throw down damage. You grab a knock, you look for the full, and quite frankly, see what they've got, because you're going to claim some more gear for yourselves and deny that from other people.
L'Esperance picking up one here is huge. Looks like Madre's traded one back. A nice hold by Nemaranth here. This is going to at least give them a moment to breathe and try to make a play and a little maybe outplay here. Viren sneak around the corner. They're going to hear this for sure. But throwing down the knockdown could be helpful. Doesn't connect, so he's going to back off. Could have been a dynamic move, but Nemaranth gets cut down, holding the off angle, and now all of a sudden, Linux, who was trying to make a hero play, is now slightly out of position, trying to swing around for the revive. And L'Esperance is going to do the same thing. So they are going to both get their revives. Almost hero play from Linux. That would have been gross.
Yeah, I'm saying, look, if you're going to hit that dynamic propulsion, but no! Oh, watch out, Zap. Zap is coming in. We don't get the res off, and Lennox just has to try and hold on.
This is a genius play from L'Esperance. just trying to pressure this. He doesn't even actually want the fight. He's pressuring to make sure he doesn't get the revive. And now that they're all three stacked, he can play for it. Gets one, gets two. Can he get all three? Can he get all three? He runs out of ammo, swings around the corner, eventually gets traded out. Holy cow. Linux, you were almost a hero once, and a second time, you truly were a hero, trading almost all three. If he just had a bit more ammo in that clip, or maybe hit a couple headshots, he wins a 1v3 holding that angle. Genius. But guess what? We're just now getting into the mix. I told you Project Lane was nearby. They were in the tunnels, and they were going to get involved if something happened. They heard a lot of shots, and now all of a sudden, Project Lane pressuring Lesterance. Lesterance about to start with a massive map if they can get out of here and stay alive against Project Lane, Tiff.
Keyword, if they can get out. You do see we've got a little bit of a regain here on the other side of things, but I'm thinking of Lennox still, right? Would there have been the magnetic bomb available to try and break up some of that 1v3? But even at 2 HP and a reload, it almost came through. But I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Project Lane, kind of biding their time, getting stuff together for that initial push. But Nox, Odd, and then you have Zap out there dealing with some of the AI on the screen, and that's fine, right? Especially around this building, because if you don't take them down, you could run the risk of just taking a couple rogue bullets from them, and they can really be a deterrence in your fights.
Yeah, right now, Listerance on their back foot a little bit, trying to figure out where do we go from here. I think the key, and nice find, gold helmet, that'll do. But I think the key thing for Lesterance right now is just trying to get some information on Project Lane. This is something we talk about all the time. Like, obviously, information in operations is everything. Information is power. And it's pretty obvious they don't exactly know what part of the map Project Lane's at. Project Lane's also not trying to give up their position. You can see Madre Mia fully wiped after that fight. RVG fully wiped after that fight. And that means all they're going to get is whatever's in their safe box, which looks like maybe 68k for Madre Mia. Ooh. And then 350k per player to resupply with, which for those that don't play Operation sounds like a lot. We know most of the guns people bring in are about that cost, so it's not a crazy amount. Really punishing if you do get cut down here.
It's going to be tough, right? Especially when you go into a Mandelbrick round. That's going to be your win condition for our series here today in Europe Operations. So make sure. But as we look at the map here, you do have LSP just down there south of Major Substation. You kind of have one out on that rotation. They're sitting on the extract, though. So curious to see if they're just going to say, hey, we looted. We're fine with what we've got. We know there's no Mandelbrick here, and we're setting ourselves up for basic to kind of push through that. But Project Lane, they're still in that picture-in-picture. Cool, calm, collected, because there's going to be a bit of a heated battle here. I don't imagine they're going to want to walk away from this.
Yeah, and I think, again, you can see Overgear, they're just getting out of here. And I don't hate this. They've got 2.2 mil, which means they got to have found something pretty good, because we really didn't see them in an engagement at all. Obviously, Lesterance taking down the two teams that were eliminated. So they looted up 2.2 mil and said they were happy with that. And they're getting out of this map. So Overgear out. They've all extracted. Madre Mia, RVG full dead. Pay attention. Again, we feel like we just got started. We've got an angle here. Unfortunately, doesn't connect on many of those shots. SMG from distance bounces just a hair too much. Pay attention to that clock on the left-hand side, folks. We're already at less than 5 minutes remaining to get out of this map. You might have had a good map. You might have found some kills, and you'll get a little bit of rewards from that. Both of these teams really want to get out of this map, as LSP has looted up Tiff and found 3.3 mil.
Huge. Look, I'll take all that if you can, especially if you're going to go in geared up. But you can see another extraction point is going to come through and be active now. But still, keeping tabs on Project Lane. Look, they're going to burn not only a Viren, but a D-Wolf and a Nox operator. You only get to use them twice throughout the entire tournament. And if you feel comfortable with making sure that those picks go out first, sure.
Yeah, and I think everybody really wanted to start off with like a good map, but knowing this isn't a Mandelbrick round, I don't know that I would burn a Stinger this early. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of nuance to it. We can talk a little bit more about that during the break, because this is going to be a battle for this extraction. The dam lever was pulled. The dam extraction is really the only option for this team that we know of right now. I'd love to get a quick glance at the map if the fight isn't going crazy, to see if we can take a look at some other extraction points. I know there is no backpack extract, a weight limit extract, but I think this team might have to play for this dam extract versus Project Lane. It's risky, though. Lesterance has everything in their inventories, and Project Lane's going to get out with a little bit less than 1 million. So if giving away this dam extract means that Project Lane gets out, not a big deal for Lesterance. it's really a question, Tiff, if Lesterance can find somewhere else to extract from. And I think they're deciding we got to get into the mix.
Yeah, you really have to be cautious here, especially when you have 3 minutes left on the map. It doesn't matter how much work that you've put into this if you can't take it out. Sure, you're going to get some technic alloy for the amount of kills that you have, which is 6. A ton of value there. But keep tabs on where we're looking. See that countdown. It's going to happen. But LSP, honestly, are they going to make a rotate and we're going to just, everyone is going to culminate around the extract?
1,000%. I mean, everybody's looking, how do we get out of this map in the next 2 minutes? The only thing active, the damn extract in 2 minutes is going to end right before our in-game timer. I think there's about a 20-second spread between these two clocks. This is going to be a fight for the damn extract. How many of you all have been here on Zero Dam fighting for this extract? I know I have many, many times. I don't hate this position. Something we've seen often with this damn extract is having one person kind of on the flank inside, held up on boxes. But it sounds like Terry's gotten a bit of information that maybe LSP's also in the area. We've got 3 teams fighting over the damn extract that leaves in a minute and a half. Talk about utter chaos. Look at where Bibic is, though. Project Lane's got that one on the flank up in those crates. Could be a huge play from him if he's extremely patient. Got to pay attention to this clock, though. He might not have the loot value that this team has. He might not be worried about getting out, Tiff.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, if we're going to be using our Crouching Tiger at this point and see if it connects, that'll give you information and maybe a moment for you to kind of dynamic propulsion straight into there and make a play, but keep tabs on it. You can see right now we're already losing health and 1 down, but we get a trade. Can we keep going through? Project Lane, though. Terry, okay, I love that energy out of you.
Yeah, this is utter chaos on the other side, and it's Bibic finally coming in for the flank. Trying to play cleanup of Lesterance, just keeping his team alive. 45 seconds, and Nox is the only player left on Stinger alive for this Project Lane team. Gonna get into the mix. Lesterance is out of here. Project Lane wins the gunfight, wins the fight, wins the map as well, and gonna get out of this map as long as they don't waste too much time looting. A little bit of chaos there in that final fight, but it was a perfect execution from Bibic. I love this Project Lane play to say, listen, stay outside. I don't even care if you end up not getting to the extraction point in time. Stay outside and be our cleanup man. And that's exactly what happened. A perfect execution. LSP and Lesterance both fought each other first. They end up at least getting a couple of those bodies weeks. And so it's pretty easy cleanup for Project Lane to get the overall win. And they're going to get out with the most loot value. A great map, a chaotic one. And I told you they go quick. Zero Dam. First map. Done and dusted already. Insane, Tiff. What do you think about it?
Honestly, I loved it, especially the very end, right? If Project Lane's going to navigate inside that inner hallway, you can just really anchor down from there. I love that all 3 of those teams kind of culminated in that one engagement with less than a minute on the clock. It has to happen at that point in time. And the fact that Legerons, they tried, right? They had north of 6 kills and there was a final battle, so they're going to get the Technic Alloy associated with that. But can you believe that I was going to say only 1 team made it out, but we cannot forget that Overgear actually took the early exit, preserved a lot of their loot value, and are just really setting their sights on the game number 2.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot we can break down from the map, and it went really quick and it was chaotic, but I think the key thing to remember is this timer. Tiff, you talked about it right before the game, and I thought it was perfectly put. The timing is everything, and you've really got to pay attention to it and use it to your advantage. Project Lane got to the extraction first. They had power position. They didn't have to do anything crazy. They just put 1 on the flank, let the other 2 teams fight. Let's take a look back on that map and some of the key moments from it. Obviously, to start things off, RVG dead immediately. They go sprinting into Lesterance, and Lesterance get a full team wipe. Then it's the fight for admin, which starts with Madre and Lesterance firing back at each other. And this is a huge kill by Zap to really open things up. And a strong play from Lesterance to play this trade. Almost a hero play from Linus. I mean, look how low he got the 3rd player. Was ripping them to shreds. But at the end of the day, Lesterance wins that fight. So Lesterance comes to this extraction with 6 kills and a dream to get out of this map, knowing it's going to be difficult. And they pick up a couple more here as well. So they find their way all the way to 8 kills, but they're just too weak to fight Project Lane, who cleans everything up and gets out of the map in stride. So overall, a really good map for both Project Lane and Lesterance. As a reminder, Overgear did technically get out of the map, so they also will likely be up there in the top maybe 3 or 4 because they did get out with about 2.2 mil. So overall, pretty good map for them, Tiff.
I think so. I think it was really conservative of them to go ahead and hit the extraction point early on. They don't want to contend for an end game like that. I mean, that was very reminiscent of some of the chaos that we've had in our earlier show matches, right? I didn't think that we would actually get that here on the competitive side of things, but you know what? If you're feeling confident after your early engagements, because not only that, they took out the 2 top teams from each semifinal of your Leisure-on. So you're coming in as the former champion, you're coming in with the knowledge that you just took out 2 heavy hitting squads, and you're just like, you know what? It's fine. We can get through anything. But I don't know if they were actually prepped and ready for Project Lane, who had basically been hunting them down that entire back half of Zero Dam. And the cool thing about it is what we saw in the replays was the Nox ulti for the flank. And I feel like that's what got the better of Leisure-on's at the end.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to break it down, and I think using those operators is going to be extremely key. Knowing all the operators and how to use them in operations, extremely key as well. We're going to take a very short break in the booth. We're going to do some scoring behind the scenes. Got a new overlay for you. Excited to show you as, again, operators, they can only be used twice in total by the entire team throughout the course of all of our games. We're going to do some math behind the scenes, see where our players land with all of their loot value, see what happens in game number 2. Don't go anywhere.
Chaos. It is the improvisation of fate. Chaos. The art of breaking free from the confines of reality. When the raven cries, millions of wings will tear the night apart.
Claire, time to escort the Raven.
The time has come.
To the lower cell!
Do you read poetry, my friend? For it tells us not what has happened, but what is going to happen.
Your mission is to rescue an inmate with intel on Skynet, so why start a riot?
Don't look at me, mate. I was working on the toilet.
Calm. Track him down and contact Zoya.
A divine messenger has guided me to your rescue. You are free.
No. Firstly, it wasn't a divine messenger. Just a little birdie. Secondly, I've always been free. You're the ones trapped in order.
Inmates have taken the control room and activated tidal defense system.
It's all part of this madman's plan!
That guy doesn't look like he's asking for help.
Zoya was tricked by a birdie.
The guests have arrived. Now let the chaos thicken! Then, Mythor. The air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen sensor, swung by angels whose faint footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor.
GTI. Watch out! There's hallucinogens in the smoke!
Luna!
Luna?
Wretch! cried. These forces lent thee by the spirits it hath sent thee. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Don't. They'll feel the blade of betrayal pierce their hearts just as I have.
Tidal lock defense protocol fully engaged. Area is on the brink of complete
I don't know what's
submersion.
going on between you two, but we gotta pull out. Now!
Order, the formula of fate. With chaos, fate's writing poetry.
Well, welcome back to the Delta Force Global League Season 2 EU Operations Finals. We are one map done already. Zero Dam goes extremely quick, Tiff, with a 16-minute timer with this brand new tournament mode. First impressions, this is the first time we've watched it on broadcast. What did you think? Obviously, a fantastic ending with a lot of great action.
Yeah, I think the action was great. I thought we saw a couple different strategies come through. Legerons de Lites, obviously our returning champs from Season 1, felt confident in those early engagements, so they prioritized kind of working through the map, grabbing the loot off the opposing players. And when you have your top performers from both of the semifinals going out after expending a large amount of Technic alloy, it makes things difficult for them in the remainder of the tournament. So we have two strategies coming out. Fight it out in Project Lane. Well, they fought it out, they extracted, they got kills and loot, so a brilliant first game for them. But then you also have Overgear, which, mind you, this is a Mandelbrick match point format type of event. So you're looking for 2 Mandelbricks to stop the tournament, or we're going the distance to 6 games. So if you're setting yourself up for success, knowing that the next map is going to spawn a Mandelbrick, then focus on that. And that's where I think, Goj, that map number 2 is going to perform dramatically different than what we just witnessed.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Brackish, obviously a different timer as well. You got 20 minutes, like you mentioned, and Brackish is going to have more room to work with a little bit, but the map's also bigger. So I don't know, maybe it is balanced about the same in terms of the urgency at which you need to move. But you're right, Mandelbrick on round 2 is huge. I think it's going to change the game entirely. And something to watch out for here, folks. As a quick reminder, this format is a little nuanced, so feel free to keep asking questions. But Mandelbricks change everything. That is our first ranking metric, right? The first metric that we look at is Mandelbricks. So you could have 1 Technic alloy in your inventory and no guns or nothing. But if you've got a Mandelbrick, you're going to be ahead of anybody else on the leaderboard that doesn't have a Mandelbrick. So a wild way to do this is going to be really fun to watch. And as a reminder too, if a team is able to get 2 Mandelbricks throughout the course of this competition at any time, we end the competition on that map. Could be in map 4, could be in map 5, and then obviously the maximum amount of maps we will play is 6. So just a quick reminder on that format. It's really fun to watch. It goes really quick. And I want to take a moment to think back on the end of that map, Tiff, and how it all went down, because I think it's really important for the future games coming up. And I'm going to actually pause you because production's told me, guess what? The scores are ready. Let's take a look at this brand new leaderboard and our overlay to show not only the loot value of all of our players, but also the operators that have been used. So this is going to be reversed. So we've got the ranking here. Project Lane is coming out in first overall with 7.5 mil. Now you can see how this all works. Basically, each of the operators have been selected once are shown. So you're going to see 3 operators shown on each of these. If they are able to use both of them at any time, you'll never use them again. Everybody else hasn't been used yet. So, but overall, 7.5 mil for Project Lane, Tiff, looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, right? But you can already see they're going to go ahead. They expend a D-Wolf, a Viren, and a Nox. So you've burned that. You can use them each one more time. So keep tabs on that. Obviously, you have a lot of Virens, a couple Noxes across the board, which it's quite interesting, right? Because most people really do want to preserve their recon operators for those heavy-hitting rounds. Of course, we did expend 1 Luna over there on Legerons de Lites, and quite frankly, they did okay in terms of getting 6 kills. Granted, they didn't get to extract extract, but they will have some value when it comes to kind of building their next loadout stash to go into game number 2 for Brackish. But if you're going to kick things off with 7.5, that's insane because you got that extract. But look at Overgear. They took that conservative route. They just kind of went towards the south, hit the early extract and said, you know what? We're not going to mess up kind of the longevity. We did some planning after semifinals and kind of saw how things played out with this new format. And this is how we're going to start to set ourselves up for that success.
Yeah, and again, I think that's a really good breakdown because if you look through all of these loot value numbers, they're all about the same. I mean, aside from Project Lane and Overgear, who's actually able to get out with more than we expected. I think it was 2.2 mil plus some overall. This does take into account, by the way, your starting million and any loot you're able to get into your inventory, put onto yourself. If it's a new weapon, if you get anything like that, that's all going to be calculated here. This is total assets across the board, everything involved, folks. And so at the end of the tournament, you could have a number lower than the number shown here. We even saw that in semifinals. Now, I want to take a look at our MVP from the very first round. This comes down to the player with the most kills. I think I know which team they're going to be on, and yeah, that's what I thought. We've got Zap at the top by a sizable margin. 5 kills from game 1, Tiff, which means they're going to be your round 1 MVP. Lestrance really was doing the most on the map. An overall amount of 8 kills when there's only 6 teams on the map is crazy. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to do everything that they wanted, like get out of the map, but overall still a good one. And because of that, Zap is on top for game 1 and has earned 1 round MVP. And again, the player with the most round MVPs at the end of the tournament will be your overall MVP, which is worth $1,000. That's a great payday.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. And I love that, right? I was talking about their 6 kills they had going into that last fight. The fact that they still picked up 2 fulls before being eliminated out of map number 1 is huge. So now we have to set our sights on to Brackish. That is going to be our next map up. Now, mind you, this is the first we are going to get that Mandel Brick spawn. And Goj already said 20 minutes on the clock. Knowing that Mandel Bricks do not spawn for 2 minutes into the map, that gives you 18 minutes to work with getting the Mandel Brick, getting it decoded, getting out through the extractions, and dealing with any threats in your way. So things are going to get chaotic, and that's in a perfect scenario. Goj already said how many times in semifinals we saw teams looking to rip that Mandel Brick away and therefore increasing the time that you have to deal with it. So let the chaos begin.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm really pumped about this one, folks. It's time to get into the mix, back into Brackish. Let the games begin indeed. And I think the big question in my mind, Tiff, as per the usual, is what are people bringing in? What operators are they using? What are they going to expend now that could potentially help them out for the future or bite them to come into game 3 with a lot less loot than hopefully you wanted, right? And I think that's the big key here with Brackish is making sure that you play high risk at some level. You've got to take fights. There's just not a lot of time on the clock, but you do it in the right way where you've got the power position. And I think my original point here with that first note about Project Lane is that they played power position perfectly, and that's going to be the key to every team's success today. And you can see we've already got our spawns. People are onto the map. Project Lane has picked up the south side of the map with Overgear nearby, not quite in the restricted area, but it's worth noting this is the first time you all have seen this. The Mandel Brick, you can see it right there in the middle in the museum. It looks like Madre Mia is going to go play hold on the Mandel Brick. It does not spawn for another 1 minute and 17 seconds and counting. You can see the clock there. Once it spawns, you're able to pick it up. You've got about 6 minutes to get it to a decoding station. Those are going to be scattered about. You can actually see them grayed out on your screen. There's going to be one where RVG is right now in Hotel, one over at Camp as well that they could take it to, and then one right there in the middle on Brackish Market, which is where Lestrance is. So it looks like our first early engagement might be on the north side with Lestrance again getting active, but right now we also got to pay attention to that brick, see what Madre Mia is able to do with it.
Yeah, so here you can see that exactly that extract that's up on LSP. That's going to be one of the ones that spawn. But when you have the Mandel Brick spawning in Museum, remember, think back to Season 1, Ghosh, how incredibly difficult it was for teams to lay siege to the Royal Museum once they went ahead and set up shop in there. And honestly, if Madre is going to hit that closest spawn point to there, of course, they're going to look for that. But keep an eye on Overgear, who's navigating through that northwestern side. They're about that middle map, and they're kind of filtering off, and that's typically where we'll see that strategy to make a play for Museum. Oftentimes, though, you have the height advantage in the Museum, so I'm a little nervous for Overgear, but keep tabs because the timing's going to have to be perfect, and all of these teams are going to want a piece of that Mandel Brick.
Yeah, big question in my mind is Lesterance. Are they going to play as aggressive as they did the last time? I think it was a kind of just a matter of happenstance with how fast RVG was playing. But they hear footsteps nearby. There's no question about it. I think both these teams know they're close to each other. And again, I think it's one of those moments where you're like, okay, who's going to make the first mistake? Last time RVG. This time, will it be LSP? And LSP, Lesterance. These are the two teams that fought each other right outside that Zero Dam extract. Lesterance won that encounter, but Project Lane won the map. I think patience being a virtue is a classic statement here. You know, one of the other things to watch out for, Tiff, this is brackish. It is on hard. You're going to see that Blackhawk in the sky, potentially throwing missiles down and giving away players' positions. Saw that a lot in the semifinals. He even targeted our Mandelbrick runner at one point during the semis. So something to keep an eye on. Eyes to the sky at some level.
Interesting play here for Legerons. We've got two engineers. You've got Luru. I can't even say it right now. Why is my brain working? Luru. That's tough, Tiffany. We can make that happen. But I also like the toxic play here from Mondre. So finally seeing another Luna into the mix. So kind of starting to shake things up. And obviously a lot of these operator changes are coming at the helm of the Mandelbrick being spawned in. So Mondre still up in the Royal Museum. The question is, if you do go to Hotel to decode it, look at where the teams are already prepping to assume they're going to make that play. RVG and Overgear, they're going to head that way. You do have LSP and another team situated Legerons over by Market, which is going to be difficult. I think they're making a play for the steal.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, Madre and me, I mean, we all know how Mandelbricks work, but if maybe you're tuning in for the first time and you haven't watched anybody pick up a Mandelbrick before, maybe you've just been learning the game in easy, normal modes or whatever, and you haven't seen one spawn. When you pick up the Mandelbrick, everybody on the map can see where you are. So it is a risk for Madre Mia to pick it up this early, but it also gives you a threat level detection. And so because of that, it can be valuable to pick up and be able to play kind of around it. But in a tournament like this, the problem with everybody knowing where you're at is that the Mandelbrick is your win condition. It is the top ranking position on our leaderboard, regardless of loot value. And so if somebody sees a Mandelbrick picked up, everybody's going to either swarm to them or camp on these decoding stations. What Madre doesn't know is that Asara camp is wide open. If they want to take it there, they could. But right now, they're going to try to see if anybody else wants to go for the Mandelbrick. Everybody holding positions for now. The game clock's going to force people out of positions quite quickly. The only team not holding a position is Project Lane. They've got the entire south side of the map entirely by themselves, and they're just looting up. They found 1.4 mil already. Nice job.
I love it. They're just kind of minding their own business. It's like staying in my own lane. I'm moisturized. I'm chilling, or whatever that meme is at this point. And that's 100% what they're doing. Madre, though, still in Fort Knox, aka Royal Museum. And still everyone kind of trying to get as close as possible to that. But I think I respect the choice here. But if I'm Madre, as soon as I pick that up, you got to head to camp. And you're not even going to know that's exactly where you need to go, which I think is the toughest portion of this. So make sure that you're locking it in, looking to gather information as humanly possible, playing off audio cues. But maybe RVG and Overgear do start to engage here, which will give them that information that someone's fighting on that western side.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the things we talk about in these competitions... Oh, and there's a first encounter. I'll come back to it. Overgear has found an angle on RVG. Not an angle that they can clean up, though. So they're going to probably get this revived, but at least an armor crack is going to be nice. A lot of information here. It's going to get all three on this Hatclaw hunt. He's got them tracked down, playing stairs, and it looks like their opponent's going to give up the stairs and try to relocate to their teammates. I don't think this is the right idea, because look at Darkerson. Picks up one in transition. RVG can't get anything going right now as they clean up one. That's going to be a full knock on one, so it's going to be a 3v2 if they decide to push this fight. And as long as they do it together as a team of three, they should win this. RVG is not going to go down quietly. They really need to make sure they stay alive here, folks, because you got to remember, if you die in this map, you lose your gear and you don't have it going into the next one. You do get some compensation afterwards, but the teams that get out with a lot of loot are going to have a lot of advantages going forward, so it's even more important you stay up.
You also have to remember, this is the first time we're seeing RVG actually get to play the game. They were out in the first minute in game number 1. So already losing one player can shake things up for them, but it's to be expected. We thought this fight was going to occur, and Overgear is poised and ready to take it, especially if you've got numbers in your advantage. You're using basically Hacklaw here to figure out what's going on with the other teams. What kind of operators are we working with, and the abilities that we need to be aware of, but they're doing it in such a poised way. But back for more is going to be RVG, and they're sticking together. Look, I love that. Strength in numbers. It makes sense if you can play trades, especially when you don't have that in your advantage.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody, a great breakdown in a really tough fight for RVG. They do trade one out, one goes down, and they get a full trade on one. So we lose one player on the side of Overgear. It's a 2-for-1 trade, not ideal for RVG. Gonna maybe grab this body and put it in a position where he could go for the revive, especially because he doesn't hear Overgear's teammates nearby. Because there actually was a double knock. Darkerson knocked interior by maybe Prometheus. I don't know what's happening. I think this is going to be a tough one. RVG is probably going to get cut down. What you didn't see while we were watching this fight, and you did if you were watching the map closely, I know you Operation Gurus out there saw it. Madre Mia picked up the mantle brick, and now you can tell on our leaderboard, they've got it decoding already. So RVG in absolute trouble. Overgear has lost one as well. They're going to go ahead and pick this up just to make sure they get all 3 alive. But Madre Mia in a position to potentially take our first mantle.
This is tough. I mean, we're doing it with 6 HP, so keep tabs on it. Look where Madre went.
Dang.
Straight to camp. They put the read on it. Legerance, who was situated there above market, assuming maybe they were going to push that way. No, they went all the way over towards the east, and camp it is. LSP's trying to cover that distance and get over there, and Legerance have been filtering in through the top. And honestly, if we see that double swarm, you've just got to keep an eye on the timer, right? We're at about 11 minutes left in the map, and if you want to start shaking things up, well, do it right towards the end.
Looks like, of course, like you mentioned, Sara Camp, where the decoding's going down. Everybody can see that as well. They can look at their map and see exactly where Madre Mia has taken this brick. They've got it on the decoding station, likely with a couple minutes still remaining, as LSP and Illustrance are probably going to engage. Overgear has fully revived their team, all 3 up, likely going to be able to re-kit back up and be full health, all armor back alive, going into whatever fight is next for them. 3 kills is great. But Mantle Brick is nearly everything. We got to watch out for Madre. Love to swap over and see what those timers are at. Even though this fight may be happening shortly, got to pay attention to that decoding timer.
All right. And we're just got scouting. We're making sure that we can do as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, it looks like, I was looking for the timer, it looks like they've actually scattered. You can see where the decoding is. You don't see that timer unless you're right next to the decoding station. And they've actually separated way out to this other side, trying to find the angle that people would approach this decoding station. And as long as they have somebody, it looks like maybe their third would have vision on the decoding station. Yeah, there's the off angle. As long as you got vision on the decoding station, they've got one kind of on the back side. Potentially, this is a pretty good setup. The only thing you got to pay attention to, watch out for the Blackhawk in the sky. Might start shooting at you. But everybody compiling, congesting. I mean, every team going for this Mantle Brick decoding station. Madre Mia just praying that they move too slowly.
I'm nervous. I really am. Because even Project Lane's looking to get involved. They were just chilling, vibing down there. And next thing you know, Mantle Brick says, hey, and they're making their way up. So if you're hitting that big sandwich and basically Madre Mia is the meat in the middle, being pressured not only by Legerant from the north, you can see about 10 HP, and well, Luna wants to cook that frag grenade, make sure we can make something happen, and this is gonna be tough. A little vision obstructed, but we're still alive.
Utter chaos right now, but Madre Mia's picked up 2 knocks on LSP. There's only 1 LSP player left, but look on the right-hand side. Legerance has stolen the decode. They've got the Mantle Brick in hand, and as LSP is fully wiped and others in trouble, Overgear down 1, Project Lane down 1, Legerance has control of the decoding station. This is what I was worried about Madre Mia's setup. They didn't have enough vision on the decoding station to hold it down. It is in Legerance's hands right now, and the question is, who does it end up with? As it does look like Madre Mia. This guy, Nemerith, finds all of the angles. Where did he spot that player from? A fantastic pick. I don't think he's going to get the cleanup, but even still making Overgear sweat profusely as they have a second player down on the Overgear side, and Project Lane has lost one as well.
Ooh, but they're looking for a reset here, and now we're hitting the POV from Overgear, hitting the res onto Darkers, and it's smart, right? It's going to keep them from being able to push on over to where Legerons and even Madre are, but the steal is back. Madre Mia says, no way, we're not having that happen. The issue is timing. Keep that in mind. Just below 8 minutes. We still have to be able to finish the decode, especially when the timer gets boosted every time we switch up.
Yeah, they're just trading hands on this decoding station because of its position on the map. It's decently open, and so they've just been popping over, stealing it, and then popping back to reset that timer. So it's going to be at 2:30. Every time you see that Mandelbrick swap hands, 2:30 is the minimum it could be on that clock. So it's going to keep going 2:30 over and over again as they battle for this position. You can actually see the timer on the map right now, counting down from 2:30. Lesterant's not in a favorable position to maintain hold over that decoding station. So they stole it to reset the clock, but then backed off to make sure they could play this north side. I think this is the right play. It's just a matter of continuing to pay attention to that 2-minute timer as the remaining 4 teams are all in this area battling for the brick.
Dare I say I'm nervous. Mind you, Madre Mia from semifinals B were able to obtain 1 Mandel brick. They were the leading team. So keeping tabs on where that is and knowing that Project Lane, sure, they had a lot of success in game number 1, but now that they've finally made it up towards the Asura camp, you've got to deal with Overgear. You're going to have a 3v2 there, but it's going to give you that time that away from taking back the Mandel brick. You can only hope that Legerant actually looks for a play, grabs it, boosts the timer, which gives you enough time to finesse around and go for the Mandel brick as well.
I think that's a really good shot. I wonder what Overgear is able to do. They're basically going to be playing spoiler. They full lost a player, by the way. Not going to be able to get that player back. So you're right. It's going to be a 2v3 no matter what fight they take. Look at that clock, though. I love this view. It is going down quickly, and nobody's been able to make a move yet. Overgear is basically making sure Project Lane can't push up towards this point, playing the backside. Project Lane now is going to swing on this potentially and open up this fight with Madre, which should be the signal flare. Overgear can come in behind, and guess what? Our NPCs in the skies are getting into the mix as per the usual. I'm telling you, this helicopter always shows up at the worst time for everybody and just is harrying, shelling the ground as the teams fight. Lesterant's coming in the backside of Madre Mia. Project Lane pushing forward from the front side. Madre Mia in the pinch right now. They got to figure out how are we going to address both angles at the same time. One way is to get a little bit of help. One swing from Madre Mia's third on the off angle. Picks up one from Lesterant's, but it's stolen again. Project Lane's the one stealing it as we're trading lives. Project Lane stealing, getting cut down though. Zap has found Madre. It's utter chaos on the map because there's not a lot of time left. Decoding stolen means our timer's back at 2:30. Not quite as urgent. Look at who we've lost though. Project Lane's lost one. Down for a revive. Potentially able to pick it up unless Nemerant is able to find an angle. But on the other side, Lesterant's one down. Madre Mia, one down. Both yellow timers. Don't think they're going to be able to get picked up anytime soon with the amount of bodies in the area.
Look, justice for Terry. That's all I've got to say. Goes down at the helm from the helicopter. So keep tabs on that. We do get the res. We're working on getting healed back to final form. And it's Madre still down to 2. Still looking towards investing the chaos over towards Project Lane after having it ripped from them. But guess who's got it back? This is just a trade of hands and the biggest enemy of them all, time.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, look at where the decoding station is. This is why it's exchanging hands so much. We've got players that are able to sneak over there, steal it, reset it, and then get back to a position where they're not going to die. This is a really smart strategic play to make sure this game continues to where the Mandelbrick can be a play. But right now, the power position, yes, maybe the position is Nemerant. I don't even know if they know he's up here. They should. Ooh. He's been up here a lot, and they definitely do. Over peaks, completely missed that Project Lane had a third player alive. And that's what I was about to say, Tiff. Project Lane has the power position technically because they have player advantage, a massive advantage in a fight like this to have all 3 players up. And they've got Bibic playing this off angle yet again, a perfect setup from a great team.
Last chance to get that.
Okay, well, Project Lane, if you're going to steal it, you need to steal it now because you still have to run all the way north of Brackish Grand Hammam to get to the extraction point. And knowing 47 seconds left right there on the timer.
Yeah, and I think most of these teams, if not all of them, said, you know what? I'm not going to pay attention to loot. I don't need to extract. I just want the brick. Still a tall task with the timer that we've got right now. 30 seconds on the clock right now. Madre technically has the brick in hand, but it's being stolen right now by Project Lane. It should be stolen any moment now, I assume. And as they're on it, Lesterance is going to say, you're not going to get it for free. 20 seconds on the clock. Madre, I think, technically still has the position. They still have the station. It does get decoded the last second. Look at that timer reset. It goes back to 2:30. Madre almost snuck in with a Mandel brick capture there because Lesterance came in to spoil Project Lane's game. They might have had power position, and they do get it. Elliott on 3 HP takes down another Lesterance player. There is only one alive. It's Nox, able to heal back up on the offside. It is a 1v1v2, and the big question in my mind is, where the heck is Overgear? I think they said, you know what? Let's stay alive. We want our loot value. Just have a chance in the next couple maps. And they're not even around here. If Overgear would have been patient, they might have come in here and third-partied and stole this away from everybody.
I mean, they've got 2 players left, 4 kills. It's still a game, but they've been playing so cautiously. I'm okay with it, but you've got to make big plays when it comes to getting this Mandel brick. You can see Nox just on the other side. He would love to get Zap back up on their feet if they can. He's going to go ahead, stick this res. Just a few more seconds, but look at Project Lane. They do need to recover one of their own as well, but they're so close to the decoding station, and here comes a big battle. It's Elliott. He's going to swing to the side, but look at Legerance adding another kill to their tally, potentially getting the rest of this Mandel brick. It is theirs for the taking, but time. Keep tabs on that, guys, because we still need to see them make it out.
Okay, you all said you wanted some action. You all said you wanted to get a little mixy. Well, welcome to Europe Operations Finals here with Season 2. Good grief. These fights are so fun to watch and so chaotic. But Lesterance, this time around, they come out on top with a sizable amount of kills again, but also the Mandel brick in tow. And I think they've got just enough time. Look at our game timer on the left side. We're going to see Overgear, as expected. They're playing slow. They're playing patient. They're going to get out. They said, we don't want any piece of those fights. You can see all of our timers on screen. So you're going to see Overgear get out with about 20 seconds remaining. And you're also going to see Lesterance not get out of the map, but they do get the Mandel brick. So this is the key. This is part of the game that you've got to remember, is that Mandel brick is our first ranking on our leaderboard, then loot value. So dying here, not a timing out rather, not getting to an extraction point, not that big of a deal. Now it does look like Nox maybe says, I think everybody's gone. I'm going to see if I can make it. And I think it's going to be really close. Could potentially get to that north extraction point in time. As Zap says, I don't really have too much on me. I'm going to make sure we get this brick, and we do.
Run, baby, run. Look, you got to do it, right? Especially if you can maybe hand Nox over some things. Be like, look, I want to preserve this. I think this is better off in your hands. Maybe you make that run, but you can see Overgear, 12 seconds left. They're going to make it out with just about 20 seconds to spare. Brilliant job for Overgear, but I do love a good Mandel brick. So congratulations to Legerance.
Yeah, a huge win for them. Obviously, you can see, if you can kind of squint your eyes a little bit, you can see some of those loot values. We'll get a read on it after we get back to the lobby. It looks like Overgear, yet again, was able to get out to somewhere around the neighborhood of, 3 to 4 million overall. It looks showing about 2.6 or so between two players are able to get out. And Zap, I think he gets out,
but not
barely. Yeah, that is, that's hilarious. Nox gets cut down and Zap gets out. But overall, Tiff, a massive Lesterance game. Not only getting out with at least some loot value, obviously you still keep what's in your safe box as well. So they have a decent amount of, couple million that they get out from that map. But they get the Mandel brick, which means no matter what the loot value totals are, folks, Lesterance is going to be ranked #1 on this leaderboard.
And I think
no matter what.
Yeah, it's a huge difference when it comes to the semifinals. We were talking about what did our teams learn, right? New format, everything's changing. Maybe you didn't have a ton of success, but that is your Delta Force Global League Season 1 champions, right? Especially when it came to Europe operations, they've been stellar, and they came into this new format. Sure, maybe it wasn't the best for them in semifinals. Maybe they didn't get a 0 Mandel brick, but you know what they did? The moment they could, they stole it. And I love that Madre Mia did the best that they could to try and hold that area, but because it was so open in Osira camp, it kept exchanging hands. And honestly, I wish Overgear would have committed even with their 2 players, because like you said, Coach, they would have had a brilliant chance to make that conversion, and I think they could have handed it. But regardless, they got their money, they got their chance, they'll get it again.
Yeah, there's some idiom I'm supposed to say here about looking into the past as 2020 vision. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. Something like that, because you're right. Looking back, Overgear could have made a big play if they're extremely patient. Here's a quick look back on that map from some of the highlights, and we can look at it with 2020 vision as well, because this was really one for the books. I had so much fun watching this one. Because it really did, it almost felt like warfare at the end of this map. Obviously, our first early engagement here, Overgear, and I think this is the reason they left the map, Tiff. It's something for us to remember. They did win a full fight against RVG, who brought in good gear this time around. They said, we can't have another bad map. They take all of their gear and they say, you know what? This ain't worth our time. We've full lost a player. Let's get out with something. And this is where they lose Valhalla as they trade a kill out with PL. That's going to be Project Lane, who does get there with all 3 players. And we thought they had a huge advantage, but this is where the chaos ensued. Madre was able to put the decoding brick in first. They started the decode, and then it exchanged hands like 5-6 times, and it was utter chaos. And I think that moment right there that we just saw of Madre overextending on top of this kind of shack roof was the one mistake that ruined their game, unfortunately. Just misread how many players Project Lane had left on the map. And then it looks like Elenox tried to play hero here, wasn't quite able to trade it out, and Lesterance wins it all. Even though Elliot does trade one out, he backs off, and Lesterance wins the fight, and they get the brick in the final moments. Overgear, of course, also getting out, so we should see them fairly up there in the overall loot value leaderboard.
Yeah, then we dive on in to see Zapok just kind of getting that extract. And unfortunate that you leave the one player behind. And of course, we knew he was going to expire and not make it out of the map. But of course, the Blackhawk just comes on swinging in and completely destroys him before the end of the map. Sad, but it's okay. It's still.
I'm telling you,
so
I was joking about this. I was joking about this during the semifinals. Like, there's some dev up there that has a remote control for that thing and is able to drive it anytime we're watching it on broadcast, because they always come in at the worst times and ruin everything. Completely blew that fight wide open on the Mandel brick. Everybody was over there, and so was the Blackhawk. Very fun to watch, and a great final moment there, folks. What are we thinking about this format? It's crazy. It's chaotic. Lesterance, I think they're liking it, because they're going to be at the top of the leaderboard. We're going to do some math behind the scenes. We're going to show that leaderboard here in a moment, but let's take a break. Let's get some water. Let's refresh. We are heading back to Brackish here shortly. This time, no brick. You're not going to want to miss it. Welcome back to the Delta Force Global League Season 2 EU Operations Finals. It started off hot. I mean, these teams are swinging for the fences, and map 2 was an absolute doozy. Super fun to watch. L'Esperance is dominant. Obviously, a really good game from them. If you watched our first game, for those at home that had a ton of kills, just weren't able to make it out. Project Lane held power position. This time around, though, game 2, they get a decent amount of kills, they get a decent amount of loot, and they get the brick, which means they're going to be at the top of our leaderboard no matter what, Tiff. What a great start for the Frenchmen.
Yeah, it was actually massive, right? You think about their first game of the day. They had 8 kills. That's 150k Technic alloy per kill. And then you move into game number 2. You rack up a ton of kills. You're feeling confident. You steal, pretty much playing hot potato with the Mandel brick throughout game number 2 alongside Madre Mia. And, well, quite unfortunate considering they had acquired themselves 1 Mandel brick in their semifinals, and they get their first one ripped away. Now, you think about where it all started. Royal Museum. Madre got the initial spawn points to favor the Mandel brick spawn. And unfortunately, even with the early jump, they couldn't convert.
Well, here's a quick look at our leaderboard. Let's take a look at loot value. Let's take a look at rankings across the board, and let's take a look at operator usage. Now, as you can tell, we've got basically Stinger has been fully utilized, Viren's been fully utilized, and it looks like I think they're third. They've got Hatclaw fully utilized on LSP, so that's interesting. You can see them all utilized across the board. But I'm looking at loot values, and loot values looking pretty strong for the side of Overgear. It looks like patience being a virtue and just focusing on getting out of the map means they're at the top of the leaderboard in terms of loot value. But you've got to remember, look at the numbers next to our team's names. L'Esperance, De La Tesse at the top, technically ranked number 1, despite their only 5.36 million Technic alloy loot value, because they've got a Mandel brick, Tiff.
Yeah, I mean, it's very respectable, but I'm still looking at the operators, because what L'Esperance have also done is they've kind of spread out their utilization. And I think that they're going to save a lot of this for later, which is smart, because I love that you noted LSP they full burnt their options there with Hatclaw, Stinger, and Viren. So knowing that they can't have it, but also Project Lane, no more knocks for them, which is where we saw them make a lot of their plays, popping the ult, hitting the flanks, just kind of taking people off guard. So know that they're going to have some insane fighting prowess as we move through towards the final games, but some of that doesn't even matter. You can fight all day, but if they're not netting you a Mandel brick by the end of it, what are you even doing?
Yeah, I think that's a really good breakdown. And I think overall, I mean, still very close across the board. That white number, by the way, at the bottom is what they gained on that last map over the map before. So overall, Overgear is steadily climbing, 2.89 mil over last map. Last map, they were, basically about 3 mil less than that 9 million number. So they've been steadily climbing map to map so far. Some great spread here across the board. Operators, yeah, fun conversations. I think notably LSP is the one that gets me. This is a very interesting strategy, right? We've used Viren, Stinger, and Hatclaw already. You can't use them for the rest of this tournament, and they decided to use all 3 in a row, back to back, and now they can't use Stinger at all. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think the reason why? The only thing that comes to mind for Stinger is just that you're going to theoretically have more loot value to work with in later rounds and therefore can buy more meds. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I respect it, and I'll tell you why. You preserved your Luna. You preserve that information gathering ability that you need, and maybe you just find more success with the detection arrow. And of course, her Volt arrow and the frag are such intricate parts of her kit that you can keep distance and keep that pressure accordingly. You also saw where some people were playing aggressive with D-Wolf. Yeah, sure, it's not going to be Viren with the dynamic propulsion, but you still have that confidence in the aggressive nature of what they provide. And also the plays that we've seen with Nox. Look around, okay? L'Esperance, one of the only other teams that hasn't used Nox yet at all. Everyone else has burned it at least once or even twice. So it looks like you're seeing value in that considerably with playing on the prior patch, right? Still solid. So knowing that we have Brackish next, no Mandel brick, I think we're going to see some teams just go for broke in terms of getting their loot value back up, especially RVG, who went out first in map number 1. They've got a lot of stuff to regain.
Yeah, really fun conversations here. I love this new format as we get into it. Okay, so here's a look at our round MVP, and Nox, Linux, and Darkerson all tied for 3 kills. However, Nox's team technically is the top ranking team from that map, so he is going to get the round MVP from this map. That is Zap on top for 1, and I believe Nox on top for the second. Is a nice value add for both of these individuals to see who will get the individual overall MVP. Again, the way this is calculated, just so you're all on the same page, is the overall MVP is calculated by round MVP victories thus far. So for instance, we put Odd on here with 0. You can see the rankings. Nox with 1, Zap with 1, and then Odd with 0. So these are MVPs at the top of the MVP race thus far. So whoever has the most round MVPs will be the overall MVP. How many times can I say MVP fast, Tiff? That's the big question.
Keep going.
And,
keep going.
And I think the final note here, obviously, is that if there are some tiebreakers, it'll come down to team ranking, and then after team ranking, it'll go to loot value. But we'll double check all of that on the back, and I'll keep you updated as the race continues. So fun stuff for our MVP. Again, they're playing for $1,000 as individuals for this MVP race, as well as, of course, a ton of cash, $4,000 for first place. They can win the whole competition. But yeah, really cool stuff here, really fun things to talk about, and it's time to take a look at the map we're heading to next, which of course is brackish yet again, but it is round 3, which means, folks at home, we will not have a Mandel Brick this round. And so, Tiff, I turn my question to you. Without a Mandel Brick this round, teams are going to be focused on what? I guess just maximizing loot value to kind of prepare for the next one?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to see people fighting. So you want people to not get their loot value out of it. So think back to what we saw from Les Gerants. They put up 6 kills by the entirety of mid-zero dam. So let's dive into it. I'm ready to see what's going to happen here. Friendly reminder, no Mandel Brick this round. There will be an airdrop, I believe, that spawns 6 minutes into the map and maybe 9 as well. But let's check in with our map overview. This time you've got RVG and LSP down there near the new Tower of Babel, and well, quite unfortunate for them because RVG has just been the victim of so many other teams here thus far.
The good news is, folks, is that it only takes 1 brick to jump you up this leaderboard dramatically and 2 to win. So you could be having the worst day of your life in operations. If you get 1 brick, hey, you're still there. You still got an opportunity. You still got an opportunity to make a sizable amount of cash. But you're right. LSP, RVG, probably the first encounter we'll see. They decide to fight each other. We're going for loot, though. It's a really interesting conversation because we've seen both strategies work. Overgear, they have been basically taking the we get out of the map, that's all we care about. And I might come back to it as Project Lane has spotted Les Gerants yet again. I was wrong, Tiff. Les Gerants is going to be the first ones to maybe engage for the 3rd map in a row. So as much as I thought it was the other 2 teams in New Tower of Babel, it looks like maybe there's several fights happening at the same time. Looks like a massive play from Viren. This is why Viren is so valuable. Swings around the corner. Terry picks up 1. Lesterant's down a player. Gets traded out, though, and Bibic low. We've got Zap alive and Nox alive. Nox a bit weak. They're going to back off of this fight. Is a 1-for-1 trade thus far. Overall, fairly even, as there's another encounter happening off screen between Madre and Overgear. We'll get to that later. This is a huge fight for the team that's at the top of the leaderboard.
Here we go with the shoulder peek, and we're gonna knock 1, goes for 2, and Zap is crazy with Nox having his back, immediately getting that res, and the reset coming in for Les Gerants. This is why Nox and Zapok are both 1-for-1 on the MVP race, and they're looking to go head-to-head.
Hey, yo, that was foul. They just didn't see it coming. They weren't peeking the angle. I think they were healing up behind the desk, and they looked away for just a moment, and it was the perfect timing for Les Gerants to swing the corner and get a full wipe on Project Lane. You gotta remember, Project Lane's one of our top teams in terms of loot value. That is a huge wipe for the entire lobby. Les Gerants also protecting their lead at the top. They've got the Mandel Brick, doesn't matter, but this is gonna be a big lead for them to pick up all of this team's gear and potentially say, we might start working on getting out of this lobby fairly soon. We don't have to stick around for too long. Hopefully pick up a few pieces of loot here in the museum and then move on our merry way.
Ooh, all right. We'll get on the looting way. So here's the deal, guys. I said 6 and 9 minutes for the airdrop. I lied. We're 3 minutes into the second map of Brackish for the day with no Mandel Brick. That first drop comes in at 8 minutes. Second drop coming in at 12 minutes. Now, Goj and I were having some fun talking about what we could potentially see. And if you were going to bring an AWM in, good luck. But you can't buy the ammo. You know where you can find the ammo? In that second airdrop.
Yeah, that is such a good point. I doubt any of these teams went for that high-risk strategy, but if you did and you're able to execute on it, it could be huge. I want to reiterate it for people at home because, again, there's so many new rules that people haven't heard before. But you're right. It is, you can't buy AWM ammo. The only way to get AWM ammo is in those airdrops, which also only happen on these non-brick routes. And so a very nuanced thing you can do on rounds 1 and 3, potentially spend a ton of money on AWM and hope you get to the airdrop. But I doubt most of these teams decided to go for that as we swing to another fight. I thought this was going to be our first encounter, Tiff. RVG in trouble yet again, this time on the backs of LSP.
Ooh, okay. Can we get the reset here onto Darkus before they decide to push down the hallway? We've got some utility going out to try and give us a little bit of a reprieve. And look at that. Wazdead hits the flank, hits the knock, hits the full. Okay, good. Now it's in a 3v2.
Living up to his name, RVG, W4S dead. Making sure he's able to pick up a full kill on a player on the side of LSP. As you all well know, I'm sure. Got the red timer, you're crawling around. Yellow timer, you are full dead. Counts as a kill, and it takes a lot longer to revive. So this is a huge boon for RVG to make sure they have player advantage going into this fight if they decide to swing down on it. This stairs is going to be a tough fight to kind of swing on. It could all go together, but we know what happens sometimes. You body stack, everybody's getting cut down. 45 rounds as well. This is going to be a tough fight, to be honest.
I love that Anuxi's just kind of situated up there. He's like, listen, look at here, Darkus. You kind of hit the shoulder peak. You start investing the nades and making sure that we can find maybe any early damage and just kind of keep pushing them back, which is brilliant, right? But we saw how aggressive Legerance got, and maybe RVG is sick of being pushed around from the initial games. So with Wazdead kind of holding their back, I think this is where we can see it. But who's going to peak first? And it looks like LSP might get aggressive.
LSP was playing stairs. They still are kind of. Got one peeking stairs down below. Really, RVG needs to have some sort of utility connect to where they have advantage here because LSP is going to get first shots 100% and likely first knock as well. So although it is player advantage, Tiff, it's like positionally, I actually prefer LSP's position as long as they don't give it away. This could take a while. These teams don't want to die.
Cooldowns. Keep the cooldowns. You've got the tactical flashbang, whirlwind disc coming back, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if those are things we start seeing. Whirlwind disc goes out.
A little early. I mean, it's a 45-second cooldown on whirlwind disc. I don't know. I mean, if you connect, it's like you're not going to push the stairs. I don't know.
But it says, hey, we can see it explode after a short time. So I'm ready for it. Like, put me in, coach. Especially if you got the triple blaster going up with the angles here. LSP is trying to create an opening. And hello, Verstappen. We are trying to pick you up and go for the great escape.
Talking about the great escape. What a wild play. LSP going for the body, and they're going to get punished for it. RVG flashbang to 1,000,000, but it doesn't matter. They are out of here. LSP goes for I guess it's a hero play for their teammate. No man left behind. Tries to snap the body and run and gets punished for it. That was almost comedic with the way he turned around and just started sprinting down the stairs. had a nice hold. Like the teammate, LSP's teammate had a nice hold to play the backside angle, but just couldn't connect on enough shots to actually get a knock and make it an even fight. So unfortunately, down goes Project. It looks like Project Lane obviously got wiped earlier from Legerance, and then Madre has been able to stay healthy as well, as over there in the Tower of Babel, it was utter chaos for LSP.
Proceed to search for items needed for the operation.
Oh, here we go. It takes 30 seconds for those airdrops to come on in. Mind you, they're spawning at 8 minutes, which is essentially what is happening right now. So keep tabs on teams that are going to be looking for those first initial airdrops. Now, the first round should provide either a ballistic vest level 5 or a level 5 helmet. So it just depends on what's going to occur. But if you're already feeling great with the gear that you've acquired and you're like, nah, I'm not taking the risk of going for an airdrop, don't do it. But that's totally fine because you know what? RVG, they win their first fight. Legerance is still feeling hyper aggro. They've got 3 kills at 150k Technic alloy apiece. And Overgear, well, we've seen some conservative plays out of there. You got the airdrop in the distance right behind Madre, and shots, well, they're going out.
Yeah, a couple early engagements now. So far, 2 teams down from 2 engagements. We could see half the lobby wiped here if Overgear decides to get aggressive. Completely lost helmet, though, here for Darkerson, so it's going to play this pretty slow. Prepare this really quick, especially as Helicopter comes in and says, no, think twice before you take fights, because you might catch a missile to the face. Oh, I love it.
It's the timing, right? It's like, oh, hey, airdrop coming in. Don't worry. So is our heli. We are going to wreak havoc on it. So things will be difficult, but that's okay because we just bunker up, look for some angles, but back on board here with Madre, who's just across from Overgear. Now, mind you, if we don't have that angle, right? Overgear has a bit of a high ground and a stellar angle through that front door of the building. So you're looking to see, hey, is anyone going to flank us through the windows? Are we going to be sieged upon? And how much time do we have to make something? Because we're about to be halfway through this second map of Brackish.
Yeah, Listerance, of course, technically in the lead overall because they've got a mantle brick. In terms of loot value, Overgear is at the top. You can see that right side number all the way on the right is their overall loot value. And yet again, by the way, Nemereth is different, always finding the angles. And speaking of angles, had the high ground, but just missed a few early shots. And Linux yet again stays alive with 1 HP in a dream, knocking a second player on Overgear. They're going to go for an immediate revive, which means everybody's going to swing on this. Maybe can get it off and get some help as they miss the stairs. They do get it off, but it doesn't matter. Nemereth comes in and says, not today, boys. You're not getting out of map number 3. Overgear, their first full wipe of this competition.
That is so tough, man. They've successfully extracted. Now you get a good look at this. RVG, after their initial fight, they won that round and are still in the new Tower of Babel. You've got Les Girons who have made their way over to the Blue River Hotel and Madre Mia just across the street from them. They know they heard the engagement between them and Overgear, but the real kicker is that's where the airdrop was dropped, was over in that vicinity. Did Les Girons get to go ahead and grab some of that valuable loot? Not 100% sure because we haven't checked in with them just yet, but at least Madre Mia is situated here with 4 kills on game number 3.
Yeah, that's a big pickup for Madre Mia. Obviously, the kills give you 150k each. We talked about that at the top of the show in terms of no matter what happens, you get that when you get back to the lobby. But it looks like Listerance and Madre might get into an engagement here shortly.
Okay. So for now, RVG kind of chilling, seeing if they can find some high value loot. I mean, they've all got similar values here on this map, which is great. The real battle's going to come down when we move on over to map number 4. But for now, just gotta have to worry about getting out of here with ease. You do have that extract up to the north that we did see Zapok get on out of the map just prior to. So could make a play for that when the time is right. You do have the extract point down in New Tower of Babel and, of course, the helipad area. So those are available. RVG should find no issues here unless Les Girons decides to hightail it down towards the south and they potentially go for the same.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we're halfway through this map, time-wise, a little over halfway, and only half the team's remaining. And I would say, at this point, Listerance, Madre, and RVG could all say, we can get out. We don't have to take more fights. We all have sizable loot, so you're right. We could hit the New Tower of Babel extract. Probably will. The helipad area. Listerance and Madre, though, might fight for the north extract right above the Grand Hammam. We'll see. Both of these teams, Tiff. I mean, both these teams need the loot value. I would say both teams decently healthy, but the more loot you're able to bring out, the better loot you can bring in, right? And the thing about Listerance that is, I think, a super important note is that when you've got a mantle brick already, you can start bringing in some kind of crazy kits and go for broke a little bit because you've got the power position on the leaderboard. This next mantle brick round, next map, if Listerance goes in with some of their best kits and they get that brick, we're done in 4. We don't even play game 5 and 6.
Ooh, shots going across the way. I mean, look, that's a long range fight, but you've got to respect it.
Some warning shots at the very least.
Down goes the gunner.
I mean, hey, if Madre's going to give you some room to work, get around the map, loot up a little bit more, might as well. See, Zapok's got about 3 million as an individual on him. So he's going to be carrying most of the burden of responsibility with the loot. I would expect if this does get mixy towards the end of the map, we want to make sure that Zap is the one getting out of the map. So they could even send him to extract to basically secure that 3 mil. Depends on what's in his safe box and what's in his actual body, I suppose, but something to keep in mind. Don't all have to get out necessarily. Just need some loot value.
All right, well, we've got the doctor back on the map and making sure that we're going to escort him with the utmost of care. Constantly taking all the overviews here. And honestly, Madre down there by the Royal Museum still. Almost like a second home from them at this point. But granted, they won't return after this. This is the last time you will see Brackish today.
Yeah, it's a really good shout. Map rotation decided beforehand. Randomized for the first 4 between Zero Dam and Brackish. You will see 2 of 2 every time. But the order is randomized. Decent loot. Getting picked up here from the side of RVG, and that is the benefit of winning the Tower of Babel fight. I gotta say, there's usually great loot in Tower of Babel, so honestly, a really good fight to win, and some of that's dictated by the spawns, but RVG's probably thanking the Delta Force gods, as it were, to basically say, hey, thanks, because we needed that. After 2 really frustrating maps from them, to be able to win Tower of Babel, get a bunch of loot out of it, and get 3 kills, like, that's a huge, huge victory for him.
Speaking of huge victory, we got Legeron out here completing that operation and making sure that we get closer to the extract point of things. Time to get out of here, right? We don't want to be here any longer.
Sending Dr. Prometheus on his way. Gonna earn some extra value. But Madre hanging out in the museum for a little bit. Now, pay attention, left-hand side. Ooh, a little mantle clock. All right. I'm telling you, there's some good loot on Brackish. Restaurant's finding some decent stuff. A couple of these safes before they extract. Nice job across the board. 5.1 mil from Restaurants, 4.7 showing from RVG in this map. Madre Mia, 3.4. We've all found some decent loot. This is basically a standard. If you were to say, hey, what happens usually in an operations game like this? Usually, there's, 3 fights between the 6 teams. 1 team comes out on top on each of those fights. They loot up, and then they go, we don't have to fight anybody else. Let's get out of the map. All 3 of these teams won their fights. They looted bodies. They looted the map, and now they're all getting out at separate locations, most likely. We're going to make sure that's the case for restaurants. But, wow, it looks like RVG, again, they found great loot. They got some jewels, and they got the bust of Claudius. RVG in their bag right now, looting all of the Tower of Babel, finding some great stuff, lighters, some Pirate's Gold. Not a bad loot day here for my friend W4S Dead.
Yeah, but this is what we were talking about. They had to do this, right? They got early evicted out of game number 1. They lost that initial fight in game 2. Not only were we potentially in shambles here, but we have to get on out. So you can see there, we're working on getting some of our players out with the goodies and Legerons. You've got the quick set covers down. They're going for all of the extra protection that we can possibly see. Maybe he wasn't happy with the placement. We'll check tabs on that, but just a few more minutes to go to get on out of Dodge.
Yeah, we saw a ton of loot. I mean, they got a fossil too. RVG is in their bag right now. Look at where Madre is though on the map. RVG and Madre could decide to fight each other. And that's exactly what's happening. We've sent R4S Dead out. As a reminder, you could use that double tags like you had said. So double tags and gone. Got out with a decent amount of loot. The other 2, though, looking for another extraction point. And they've run into the wrong end of Nemerith and Co.
Off the back of the triple blaster. Big cooldown there. But it's okay. Because 28 seconds to go before we go ahead and head on out of here. They just have to keep RVG for trying to get closer. And I love our head peak on top of the storage container that we're working with.
Yeah, this is a fight we saw in the semifinals often. It was on this extraction point. Some covering fire, some warding shots. Hey, nice canister. Decent loot there before you can get out of the map. 5 seconds of counting. Madre's going to get out with a couple million apiece. It's like 1.4 on Linux right now. They're going to get out of here. There's 1 minute and 42 seconds left on the clock. All of Madre's out. One member of RVG's out. The other two couldn't make it in time. So they're going to try to sprint for a different extraction. Lestrance, I assume, is on the north side of the map. At that helipad still. Getting out as well. They should be getting out here in any moment. That's right. There it is. 10 seconds. My internal clock was decent.
Let's go.
Free Lestrance getting out. So then the question is, it's RVG versus the world. Can all 3 members of RVG make it out with 1 minute and 15 seconds and counting? Probably not. It looks like they're going to be swinging through every point on this map they can, try to stuff their safe boxes with something. And I think they've stacked up the one player that they got out with, they stacked up with as much loot as possible because Anuxi has nothing on him, 190k. I wasn't really worried about getting out, Tiff.
Yeah, they made their choice. They knew what was going to happen, and they hit the bust of Claudia straight to was dead, and that's respectable. Sometimes you just got to load one up and get them on out of there. And look, you love to see it. Anyways, for RVG, though, this is probably their best performing map, right? We asked for a comeback, and if we're swinging for the fences here on a non-Mandelbrick game, this is the best case scenario that you can ask for, because you got to think about the future at this point in time. We have potentially 3 more maps to go after this. So we're kind of in that midway, that halfway point that we're feeling like, can we reassess what we've done? What worked for us? What didn't, right? You know that Le Giron is sitting on win condition and could potentially end that form. Oh, hello, Darkus. You were able to make it all the way up north?
He
Respectable.
was.
I see you.
Yeah, he's able to make
great.
He's able to make it all the way up. And we did make it to the airdrop as well, so at least get something in the safe box here. Barely gets both of those gold items in, sneaks it into the safe box, does end up getting timed out. Hey, RVG did it all that map. That was such a fun way to watch Brackish too. Like, we were able to watch Brackish in the last game where it was utter chaos, constant fights, nutty moments around the Mandelbrick. This time around, we had 3 very individual, very distinct fights where there was a very obvious winner, and then almost everybody gets out of the map with some loot value and says, yeah, we don't need to fight anymore. And I think that's about what I expected for a map like this. When there's not a Mandelbrick on the map, teams are focused on making sure, yes, they could prevent points going to other teams by wiping them, but they're trying to put points on their board, which is their total assets. That's how they build their kits, right? We have a brand new format. It's not about putting points on the board in terms of, oh, we just need points and we get all of our gear back if we die. It's what loot do you have on your person? Your overall score is calculated by total assets on each player combined. You need those assets to build better kits, to go into the next map and have an advantage. Tiff, take me through the replays here. It was a fun one, but like I said, 3 distinct fights.
Ooh, and this is where it started, right? We were looking for the crazy angles, especially from Le Giron. It's going to cost you. There goes the initial down, but then we kind of get that stalemate, right? It starts to slow down after this initial, but then Zapok just says, I am making the finishing touches happen here, essentially, with that fight. But the Hail Mary play, we almost saw an IRL grave robbery happen in Delta Force, but unfortunately, it's them who end 6 feet under.
Yeah, and these were really tough fights, and I think Overgear here just unfortunately made a mistake going for the revive. There's really not much else you could do, frankly, but once you hear that revive ping, everybody swings as fast as humanly possible, and then we see our teams that did win our fights get out of the map. 2 full teams out. RVG gets 2 out barely, and their third makes it to an airdrop and picks up a decent amount of loot they're able to throw in a safe box. So overall, a big win for the 3 teams that won their fights.
100%. And I'm glad we got to see the airdrop, right? This is the last time you're going to have an airdrop hit the map. So throwing as much as you could into your safe box is going to be highly valuable, knowing that with that initial 1 million Technic alloy that they dropped into game number 1, well, look, they got out in the first map within a minute. So knowing that we were kind of situated on a regain, well, it's only up from here.
Yeah, only up from here, and a fun last map there on Brackish, because like you said, Tiff, it was the last map on Brackish. Folks, we're going to be heading to Zero Dam next, and this time there's going to be a brick on Zero Dam. 16 minutes and a brick. It is going to be utter chaos, and maybe a team dying in the first 15 seconds of the map. You never know who sprints at admin and who gets punished for it. We'll be right back after a very short break. Don't go anywhere.
Has brought about the dawn of a new age. But now, my friends, insatiable tumor has descended upon this land, plundering our homes, harming our families, but threatening the bright future of Asara. For too long they have gone unchallenged, and they have infested the very core of our society. We must drive these rats out. Now is the time for change. Now is the time for judgment.
Let me detect first.
Welcome to the asylum! From madness to freedom!
Stay on high alert. Don't let Havoc's lackeys escape.
Welcome back to the Delta Force Global League Season 2 EU Operations Finals. This is our leaderboard after 3 games. You can notice it's all in order, so you can see on the left-hand side, halfway through, here's our update. L'Esperance de la Teste at the top of the leaderboard, actually in both categories here, Tiff. A mana brick and the most loot value because of that last map. They went up 6.7 mil overall in that map, but RVG with a gigantic jump. Reminder, they were in last. They got double wiped, but in game 3, they find a crazy amount of loot. They win a fight against LSP. They pick up the bust of Claudius, and they get out of the map with 6.4 mil to jump them all the way up to second place, just barely over Madre Mia.
See, you know what's crazy this to me is RBG. They are the top team in semifinals A. They actually, Les Gironde was from semifinals A and almost didn't even qualify, right? 0 Mandelbrick. So the fact that we've been working and climbing up towards the top, they're like, are you guys even surprised that, this is happening? Because I was surprised in game number 1, but now they're starting to find that flow that we were expecting, right? But we knew things were going to shake up with the new format, especially with people looking to make some changes post semis leading into the finals here in Europe operations. But look at the things that they've done. They've burned their Nox. They've burned their Stinger. No more Shepard. They have one more tick there on Hackclaw and Luna and already kind of getting geared up. So now you're imagining Viren's going to come in for them on these later matches. And I think knowing that they've preserved the majority of that, because Project Lane, no more Viren. LSB, no more Viren. And a couple people have already skirted around using it once. So I love what they're thinking. Maybe they're going for the Hail Mary plays on the final 3 maps.
Yeah, I think this is so fun to talk about. I love this new edition where you've got to swing on some of these other operators. And I wonder too, Saniva, right? Not being used by a lot of folks here. You're seeing Saniva not used at all from 4 of the teams so far. I wonder if you will see Saniva, maybe they're saving it for Space City, potentially. Maybe you're going to see some Saniva operators. I mean, you're going to have to. Saniva operators on Space City because you need some extra cover on some of these long sight lines, or maybe you need a shield when the boss starts sniping you. I don't know, but even still, it's been fun to watch and learn here as we're talking about these comps of what people want to use on each of the maps. Around MVPs, though, we got to keep talking about it. Game 3 MVP was a tie between Nemereth and Zapok. Zapok and Nemereth both were credited with all 3 kills for their team, so they're the top individuals for their team. But the second tiebreaker is who's at the top of the leaderboard after that game, which means Zapok, guess what? Les Gironde's at the top, Zapok at the top, and Zapok gets another round MVP under his belt, which means he's looking pretty good in the overall race here, Tiff.
You were talking about some of our teams being in their bag in terms of loot value, but we're looking for it in terms of that actual hard cash. And Zapok now with 2 MVPs on the race. Mind you, isn't it $1,000 go?
That's right.
Hey.
$1,000 for the overall MVP. This is the top individual with the most round MVPs throughout the course of today's competition. Now, I've got to kind of turn our eyes to something you said earlier that I thought you said perfectly. You said this is kind of the halfway point, and I think you put that actually perfectly because, yes, technically, we could play 6 games, and we're going to Zero Dam next, but it is a Mandelbrick round at Zero Dam. And the problem with that is that we've got a team that's already got a Mandelbrick. So if Les Gironde gets the Mandelbrick here, decodes it, they get it. Doesn't even matter if they get out of the map. If they get a Mandelbrick here on Zero Dam, Tiff, we are done with the competition and we won't be seeing any Sanivas on Space City.
Hey, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Not only was Les Gironde de la Tesse all 3 on that MVP race, they were running the leaderboard. They're the ones on win condition. They have a Mandelbrick. They have their confidence, and they're the reigning champs, bro. They are here. They're so familiar with Zero Dam. At this point, everyone's just situated like, where are my spawns going to be? Who's going to go for basically where that Mandelbrick goes? Mind you, they know where it's going to go. We know where it's going to go. We just don't know which decoding stations people are going to choose and what chaos is about to ensue.
Yeah, I think that's a really fun point is that everything of this entire tournament, it's obviously a really interesting format, but also we've got a giant rule book the players can review so they know all of the spawns that could possibly happen on Zero Dam for the Mandelbrick, where the decoding stations are going to be. So everybody's got the info. It's a lot of strategies here. I even heard some of the teams talking after the semifinals saying, man, we got to get a coach. There's a lot going on. And that's exactly right. A lot to analyze, but let's quickly analyze what's happening on the map. First, Les Gironde, they spawn on Mandelbrick. They have a perfect spawn for this on admin. This is a randomized spawn location, and the Frenchmen are getting all the luck on their side right now, able to play around this Mandelbrick spawn. They can't pick it up for around 2 minutes or so. They've got plenty of time still on that clock. It's about a minute and a half overall when you spawn in. As you can see, they can't pick it up for 60 seconds. Madre's there as well in admin already. This is likely going to be the first fight. As you can see, the other 3 teams are all spread out as Project Lane is going to be creeping over this hill, maybe through the tunnels rather, as they move underneath the map, and maybe we'll get involved again, as it does look like Madre did find a military communications device already in admin, which is a nice victory. That's like 200k.
Hey, you love to see it because, mind you, tiebreakers are going to come down to those loot values, and Madre Mia is not going to get out of this tournament without at least netting themselves one Mandel brick. But you've got to get through Les Gironds. So Operation Stop Les Gironds Dilates if you are anyone in this lobby. And knowing that Madre Mia is going to have that proximity to them, they just got to play those audio cues. Of course, you do have some of those NPCs that are going to be lurking amok, and that's going to be unfortunate, right? It's going to mess with you. But look how close they are. Zapok locking in the Viren. We see the Luna and a Stinger. This is an operator composition that we were wanting to see for those late game rounds, and they preserved it to make it happen.
The mail brick can be picked up, and both of these teams won it. You can see Project Lane, again, this is the exact same flow from before. Nanobrick's been picked up by Les Gironds, and they go on the move immediately. They've got that threat level detector now. It looks like it is going to be Zap carrying it. And as they grab it, they start sprinting immediately. Project Lane, they did this last time on Zero Dam. If you remember, obviously not a Mandelbrick round, but they came up through the tunnels underneath with the new expansion that happened last, I think a couple patches ago at this point, under Zero Dam to try to get into the mix. Zapok and Co say, we don't want any of that. We're going to swing way over to the right-hand side and immediately throw this into a decoding station. You see that timer immediately go to 4 minutes. They got 4 minutes on the clock. 4 minutes to win this tournament.
Well, if you're going to go to parking lot, you might as well hit it up. And now you've got to think about what our defense strategy is going to look like, okay? You've got Luna, so you're going to get information via the detection arrow. You can use the Volt arrow to keep the pressure. Now you have to manage those cooldowns, but you have to be able to thread it through the doorways. And of course, not only that, but Overgear spawned over towards the eastern side, over by the mountainside, before making their way up north. They're going to get involved here. Project Lane, they're here. So is LSP. But I love that Madre Mia is going to actually be that kind of barrier to help out Les Gironds.
Here we go. The first player down, LSP, catching the wrong end of the stick from Project Lane. And he gets Shepard up to potentially throw some cover. Engineer helping with the Luru, putting deployable cover out. It's not going to help too much, though. Immediately gets blown apart. Project Lane, with the advantage, is pushing the equation. Tons of equipment usage here to try to help the team out, but we've lost 2 from LSP. And this is just the beginning of the chaos that's going to be happening on this map. Project Lane swings, loses 1, but immediately trades it out. Nice free win there for Project Lane as they get another win, and LSP unfortunately cut down yet again our first team out of this map.
Look, Project Lane may have burned through their Nox utilization in the earlier games, but you know what they still have? Those epic flanks. I love that they were able to get behind enemy lines, do some cleanup crew, and well, goodbye, LSP. Madre Mia, though, still in a neighboring vicinity. They know exactly what they need to do, and they're going to bide their time. They want to get right back to what Les Gironds did to them. So keep tabs on it. Remember, Les Gironds ripped the Mandel brick from Madre Mia back in map number 2 on Brackish. So now we'll have to see. But Overgear, they're here first.
They're here first, and they're trying to find where are these players at. Oh, I see a laser. Overgear knows. They say, found you. They can steal the brick technically, but the problem is this setup is wild inside. It looks like Les Gironds was knocked here without aim on the other right angle. Using Viren, got the knockdown and the cleanup. That's a full kill on one player of Les Gironds. And a nice peek through the window. Les Gironds says, Zap says, I am the Frenchman. I am here to win. Got a lot of fans in the chat, and they're going to get active. Zap goes swinging around the corner. Tags 1, gets 1 low, gets the kill, takes out the third. No, the third gets the win. Overgear on top, but a trade from Les Gironds. They win the encounter. They win the fight. Overgear is out of here. This has got to be a signal flare for Madre to get involved, and here they are. The third party looking for these players. Problem is they're on the other side in the other compartment, the other garage, and Madre is going to swing on them with player advantage. Les Gironds in deep trouble.
Oh, Zapok finally getting some health regen, but we're still in a 2v3 situation. We saw how aggressive they got with that dynamic propulsion there from Viren, but Madre Mia, if they would have gotten here just 10 seconds sooner, it would have been different, but we make the entry, and 2 go down Nemrith with a flank. Come on, can we do it? Angles are not in your favor, and the jump to the 1v2. Les Gironds, you're insane.
Les Gironds, player disadvantage. Doesn't matter. How many people does it take? Send them all. Let them come. Doesn't matter. We want all of the action. Project Lane trying to sneak in here and just steal the Mandel brick away. The timer's gotta be insanely close. Nobody's been able to steal the decode. It's got to have like 60 seconds or less on it at this point. 20 seconds remaining. He's got to make a play right now or Lesterance is going to win this tournament right here, right now. We will play out the map because it matters for everybody else. But Lesterance is about to win in 4, and they pick up the one flanker. Can't make it in time. 7 seconds and counting on the clock. Project Lane from the other side with the Luna trying to get some information, but they get traded out. Lesterance cannot be taken down. They are inevitable. They are unstoppable. They're going to get the mantle brick, and they're going to win this entire tournament in 4 games. They don't need Space City. They do it on Zero Dam.
No Mandel bricks in the semifinals. All Mandel bricks here and now. Can you even believe that? Project Lane just very, very quiet. And Terry, I see you. But Odd's going to hit the shoulder peak. I don't even care if we lose that 1v1. It doesn't matter because Zapbox doing the real work on the inside, getting Nox back up on their feet. I can't believe it, Goj. Is this what you expected for Delta Force Global League Season 2 Europe operations? Because I could not.
Here's another fight. I expect Lesterance to win, and unfortunately, they can't do it all. They can't do it every time, but they did enough. Project Lane, this is a gigantic boon for them. And I want to remind everybody for a moment, while we have a chance to breathe, RVG is still alive. Project Lane is still alive. The tournament is done. Lesterance are your champions. However, everybody else is entirely ranked on loot value. The tournament may be done. This may be the last map, but the tournament for these 2 teams, job's not done yet, and Project Lane has a massive advantage right now, keeping their players alive, winning the trade, and getting all the loot from Lesterance and everybody else, Overgear, Madre Mia. There are so many boxes here that as long as they can get out of this map, I think Project Lane is probably going to jump the team in second place right now, which is RVG.
Ooh, I mean, RVG really went up in value after game number 3, and it was a brilliantly done. Okay, I'm obsessed with it. But the issue is Project Lane is doing amazing. They 5 kills. Sure, they had a great play onto Legerance, which quite frankly, I thought they were going to be able to break him down. But that initial 1v1 that Terry won out on that fence line, that saved him.
Well, and it was a smart play from Lesterance. They just, I'm sure, were celebrating the win. That's the funny part, right? They don't need any of the loot, so it doesn't matter. But they were kind of celebrating the win. It was still a smart play. They sent one out to basically take that fight while they were getting a revive on the backside, so they would have player advantage. But then Project Lane just goes crazy. And this is going to be a huge win. You got to remember, yes, $4,000 for first place. Lesterance has earned that already. But that money scales down second, third, fourth. Everybody making cash, but 6 is only making $300. And second's making 3,000, if I remember correctly. So a lot of cash exchanging hands if they're able to get second. And there's a quick look at that leaderboard on the right-hand side. I believe, the loot totals showing are like 15 mil to 12 mil from Lesterance. And RVG's there around 10 mil in total. That's going to be everything included until they get the final rewards from this map. So Tiff, what I'm worried about right now is just if Project Lane can get out of this map, because RVG's just camping the extract. They're going to go for Dam, I assume, and RVG is going to already be there. I don't think the lever has been pulled yet or can't be pulled yet. They should be pulling it here shortly. But RVG is not going to get second place if they allow Project Lane to leave.
Look, they're going to definitely look through all the loot that's situated around this parking lot. But the best part about this is when you are talking about that conditional extract, making sure the lever gets pulled, Project Lane was the team that camped the extract. And now they're going to have to go against the team that in the first time we saw this map went down first.
Yeah, this is a really important potential fight here. What a wild way to end this whole thing. Holy cow. But job's not done yet. You can see everybody utilizing their safe boxes correctly. And I think, again, it's just right now, this is the classic Tetris, if you will, the inventory Tetris, just trying to piece everything together, maximize loot value here. We saw in the semifinals, Tiff, I think the closest margin we saw in qualling or not qualling, which would be 3rd versus 4th in the semifinals to make it to this stage, was 300K. But that's 300K between 2 teams at the end of a 6-game tournament between 3 players in total. That's a team total asset deficit. 300K is nothing. And so it comes down to just picking up that one last loot, that one last piece of gear you can fit in your inventory. Could be the difference between you making $3,000 versus $500 or something like that. There's a lot of breakdown here that matters, but right now, Project Lane's got to just focus on getting out of the map. They might think that they're the last team on the map. They should know that RVG hasn't been spotted yet because they were in most of the fights and they were able to check all of these bodies. You can tell who they are, what players they are on the ground. I don't know, but gonna loot up the last pieces of this room. Again, every piece of loot counts. Every moment matters.
Time is of the essence, and now I'm just excited to see what this is going to look like for Project Lane. Of course, yeah, still looking to make sure that we go out with everything that we can possibly find. We do not want to have to deal with any tiebreakers. We want to shoot up the leaderboard. We want to make sure that you get some of that hard cash.
Yeah, and all of these teams, just some extra nuance. Since the tournament's over, you can see the lever's been pulled, so 3 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. This is going to be a fight between Project Lane and RVG. But just to give some background info for those that are watching, some of the rule sets here, players are able to get key cards. So you can see they're able to get into some of these secluded rooms, Zero Dam. Use this key card to get into this back room and find some decent loot. But right now, it's maximization of loot. Look at the value they've got. It looks like 17.9 mil showing in total assets. A giant map for them because they were able to loot so many bodies. I mean, they're almost showing 10 mil right now just from this map alone. But they got to get out.
Huge.
They got to get out.
Huge. Can you get through RVG? I mean, you're going to come down and leave the least amount of time left for you to make this happen. But you realize, what do we have? You've got a Luna, you've got a Stinger, you've got a Shepard. Okay, we saw how valuable that frag grenade can kind of open an engagement for you. But knowing that RVG has had so much time on this extract to kind of just say, hey, I don't actually know how many teams are left right now, who is going to make a play for me, but we just have to keep tabs.
Yeah, and they've got to know RVG is here. I mean, where else would they be on the map, right? Unless they just got out, but everybody knows, by the way, that L'Esperance was the team that actually decoded it. So everybody knows this is the last map, and I say everybody, it's just 2 teams left, but they both know, they've both got to expect there's somebody in here, and they're going to scan it or at least get something in here. They do pick up one. They know people are in here. Got to play safe. Got to play patient. RVG, peeking on left corner. This could be an isolated fight they could take. This could open it up. Ooh. And that's exactly what happens. Unfortunately, a mistake from RVG trying to play a flank and unfortunately get punished for it. Going to have a player advantage and they wipe 2. The third player behind the boxes trying to make a play by himself and immediately cut down Project Lane. They are inevitable. They have grabbed a box from just about every single player on this map at the end of it. They will not win this tournament, but they will get second place. There is no question about it.
This is pretty extravagant, right? Because you got a ton of kills, you get on out, and you definitely are going to solidify yourself at the top of the leaderboard. So let's see them as they go through, take all the loot. At the end of the day, when you've just got to net yourself 2 Mandel bricks to stop the tournament, Gauche, you know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, look, L'Esperance, we celebrated them early, and we will celebrate them here shortly. But I have got to tip my hat to this squad, Tiff. Came in at the right moment, executed under pressure. The only thing they couldn't execute is just getting to the station in time because they didn't even have to actually steal it and get the brick. They just needed to reset the timer so that teams could breathe and potentially make a play for L'Esperance. But when the world swarmed to L'Esperance, L'Esperance stood tall. They get the brick out. And then they finally get cut down by this team on your screen right now, almost extracting with 10 million loot value just from this map. Gonna push their total up to almost over 20 million overall. Really great stuff from Project Lane. But your champions of the Delta Force Global League Season 2 EU Operations Finals, it's the Frenchmen. Zapak, Odd, Nox, congratulations. L'Esperance, De La Tesse on top yet again. Back-to-back champions for Europe's Operations Finals here at the Delta Force Global League. This team was actually Thanos on the map today. Every map was a good one. They only had a couple mistakes throughout the course of the day, but overall, almost a perfect day in the office. Ending this tournament in 4 games is unreal.
Yeah, that is not what I expected. I thought we were going to go the distance. I thought we were going to get to Space City, hit map 6, and just see what was going to happen. And honestly, I didn't even know if a team would get 2 Mandel bricks, but we did see so much congestion and chaos on all of the Mandel bricks. But the fact that Legerance Dilates clutch it up, hold off, grab 8 kills while defending that Mandel brick, and even with Vivek from Project Lane kind of crouched down, looking to make one of those final pushes, even just being really snaky, didn't matter. Wasn't enough. Legerance, they did everything and held onto it.
Yeah, they really did. It was so fun to watch, and it was fun to go through this tournament with this style of play. I did all of the semifinals off broadcast, Tiff, and so I watched all of those games. It's 2 semifinals per region, and not one team was able to get 2 Mandel bricks. This is the first time in this format, in these regions, this has ever happened, and they made it look easy, to be frank. I mean, some really, really good fights, and it showcases the interesting format that this new tournament server operates under, because the other thing you've got to remember about this team is that they were way up there in loot value as well. And like I was mentioning before going into Zero Dam, they likely came in, I mean, obviously came in with some good weapons, came in with some really good gear, so they gave themselves an advantage and they were able to capitalize on it. L'Assurance de la Tesse, inevitable, the best team here, absolutely crushed it. French on top, apparently. Let's take a look back on the map and see how it all set up. You gotta also tip your hat to the RNG gods, if you will. You gotta get a little randomness on their side. They did get the right spawn to get the brick, but then they signal flared to everybody on the map, come and get it. LSP, the only team that wasn't gonna get over there in time to do anything. And so then this fight ensued, and that window peak was unbelievable. Completely changed the trajectory of this map and probably won them this fight. Getting that window peek, getting the kill. This moment right here is what surprised me so much. They had the off angle, they heard Madre coming, and playing that high ground position allowed them to open up this fight. And then this angle through the window again pushed back Project Lane enough to where the brick was going to be able to get decoded in time, regardless of the way the rest of the fight mattered. There goes the brick, and now everything else is just icing on the cake. And Project Lane, the only player alive for Project Lane, Terry, is able to win his ones and then win his ones again, and that does save Project Lane. And likely that solo, honestly, it wins them like $3,000 because this fight was much easier in comparison. RVG didn't have a ton of info. They peak with 1, get punished for it. And with player advantage on the side of Project Lane, they just win every single fight, and they do get out of the map with about 10 million in loot value between 4 players.
Okay, Terry, we see you. You did what you needed to do when the time mattered, and I love that they were able to hit that clutch up from that initial fight on the fence line against Legerance de la Tesse down towards the extraction point where we needed to take RVG. But, I mean, Europe operations goes. I'm just smiling. Look, I love seeing this format. The changes were amazing, and it's just been a good day.
Yeah, it's been a really good day. It's a really good day for L'Assurance de la Tesse. I believe they're probably going to have at least one of their players is going to be the overall MVP. Their whole team is going to obviously be your winner. So there's a lot of money going to L'Assurance de la Tesse across the board. But again, Project Lane, just fantastic job there. Terry putting the team on your back in the final moments, taking down L'Assurance finally, the behemoths that they are. Winning 2 1v1s to secure yourself second place. If he does lose there, if Terry goes down, I think they get maybe at best 3rd. I think they drop down to probably 4th, kind of depending on how the math shakes up. So that's a lot. That's thousands of dollars those 1v1s mattered for Project Lane. So really well done for Terry and that whole team as well, likely getting second. We're going to let our mathematicians work for everybody else, though, because that money does scale up and down all the way through with $4,000 at the top, $3,000 for second, and then it goes all the way down to only $300 if you got last. So these positions really do matter. And of course, everybody earning some cash because they did earn their spot here through those semifinals from before, Tiff.
Look, it was a good day. I love all the changes that we witnessed from the semifinals. I love that people got super crafty when it came to their operator selection, making sure that during those later matches, they had who they felt the most comfortable with and preserved for those Mandelbrick rounds. But alas, Goj, I know we've got some brains to pick, and of course, I want to hear from some cool people today.
Yeah, I do as well. I'm getting word from production that we've got an interview, and I don't get to say this often, Mr. Zap, but welcome back to the booth for another interview. You interviewed with us, I think, last year because you're returning champions and now back-to-back champions. My man, how does it feel to win it all?
It feels so good, bro. It feels so good. We are against once more again champions, bro. French on top. Like I told you last time. I told you we're gonna win it twice, Goji. I told you.
Yeah, look, you're right. I believed in you. Semifinals, they were a little bit slow. So I want to follow up with one quick question. What was the difference? What made the difference between semifinals to today? And how were you able to execute like you were today? What was so different? Why were you guys so dominant?
So we practice a lot, like it was practice. We just like put every map, every spawn. We learn the game, like where we spawn, what we need to do. And also, that was finals. So the mentality was not the same in our team. Like it was, we had to play for Mandel Bricks. We had to dominate. We had to play for the win, guys. It's not second place. It's not third place. We play for win. So that's why we did. And I think we just smurfed that finals, bro.
You definitely did. Now, okay. I love that you learned all the spawns, but when it came down to Zero Dam, the final point, you could actually win the tournament right there. The Mandel Brick spawns, you're spawning right by it. What do you think you were kind of going through at that moment when you realize we can make this happen? The parking lot, we can decode right there. It's just kind of laying it out almost too easy for you. But then you realize every single team starts to siege you on parking lot, and you guys held tough. We saw one of the nastiest jump peaks right on the opening fight. So talk me kind of through that point in time.
Like, wait, can you repeat your question? Excuse me. I don't get it.
Yeah,
like,
of course. When everyone started coming for you guys when you're decoding, like what's going through your brain at trying to guard the Mandel Brick?
We were so focused on we know at like this point on the yellow building, we know it's gonna be like completely the chaos. So on the paper, we work on some like position we can add, like to try to defend it. And when we get knocked down, we are start to thinking like, it's gonna be tough. But after that, the team from the left push us, and we did insane clutch with me and Dede. And after that, we just like took back position. I was like the other side, so we know it's clear. And I think I killed 2, Dede killed 1. It was crazy fight. We had like, we were so focused on the fight, and it was insane. Like actually, like the fight we did with Dede and like at every game with Nox and Dede was insane. Like it's, I'm so happy about how we played that.
Yeah, and it was so obvious, Tiff, like their chemistry was unbelievable, right? Like I think that was what was so cool to me was y'all's chemistry is just so clean. You played all of your trades perfectly. I want to follow up with Tiff's question, and I want to actually ask a similar one. Talk me also through, because this is what Tiff and I were freaking out about on the booth, was when you spawned in, right the instant you spawned into that map and you were right next to the brick. What were the comms like? What were you saying to each other?
You want the refresh of the comm? It was go. It was just go for the Mandel Brick. We know. Just go. No, at that spawn we had to play for the Mandel. That spawn we had.
100%. No, I get it. I love that. Back-to-back champs, a statement win here. What do you think this message is for the rest of the regions that still have to compete? Like you've got Delta Force globally, we're going to do North America later, but what does this win kind of announce to all of the regions?
I just want to say shout out to my big friends from North America and Brazil gonna compete like this night. And for all the people in the world, like world is announced, we are damn ready, guys. We are damn ready.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm really excited about North America as well. I want to leave you with one final moment. You can obviously shout out to your community in French and say whatever you want. I want you to just shout out. Your fans are going crazy in the chat, and they're going to go even crazier when they actually catch up to us on broadcast as well. So shout out anybody you want from home, and then also tell everybody at home where people can find you as well, because I know you guys stream. I know you guys do a lot of stuff here with Delta Force. So shout yourself out, but also your community.
Alright. Les gars, merci beaucoup pour tout le soutien que vous nous apportez, les gars. On vous l'avait dit qu'on allait gagner cette finale 2 fois. Je vous avais dit, les gars, on vous l'avait promis, on a travaillé pour. Envoyez de la maxi ce fort, les gars, à Dédé qui vient de rejoindre la team. C'était pas compliqué pour lui. Envoyez de la maxi ce fort aussi à Nox. Ils ont été monstrueux sur le tournoi. Je suis trop fier d'eux. And you can find me, guys, like on Twitch, like Zapok TTV, like my name. You can find also Nox on Twitch and Vladede also on Twitch, on Twitter, on every social media. And yeah, I try to live from Delta Force now. My dream is to become a pro on this game, so I will do everything. And I think the start is very good.
We appreciate you, man. Just always a pleasure to have you back in the booth for the second time, and congratulations on back-to-back champions. You guys really are extremely talented, and excited to see you continue to try to go pro in the game. And good luck with everything else.
Thank you, Goji. Thank you, Speedardif. Bye-bye.
See you later. L'Assurance de la Teste, they are your champions, and there is no question about it. Absolute dominant performance from them, Tiff. And I think one of the things that we love to hear is players that constantly hop into the booth with us and say, I'm looking to continue this, right? I'm looking to continue to make a name for myself, for my team, and continue to play this at a high level. And even his words to North America region saying, hey, I know you're coming next. Good luck. And I'm looking to see you if there's a Worlds. I'm looking to see you at those Worlds, hopefully. And I love that energy from him. He wants to play on a big stage at a world stage and prove that they're the best in the world, not just the European region.
Look, I'm telling you, you start off in your region and then you take down utter world dominance. Brilliant plays there from L'Assurance de la Teste, and obviously good comms. It's always fun to hear from our competitive players on what they were focusing on. And honestly, when you get the comms, knowing that in that final moment, when the Mandel brick and they spawned right by it and you just hear go, 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 like the passion is there even in the interview. So you know just how much fun and vibesness were in those comms. God, sometimes I just want to be like a fly on the wall when they're playing so I can listen to all of that. That's the best part. But you can. Just go find them on stream, just like you said.
Yeah, that's exactly right. What a fun day. Some fantastic maps. We didn't get to see Space City, which is a bummer. I really do love that map. L'Assurance de la Teste said, we don't want to see Space City. We're doing it at 0 dam. Able to do it in 4. This brand new format, folks. What do we think of it? We like it. I'm really liking this double brick point format, if you can call it that. This idea of you can end this tournament sooner if you're able to double capture, and that's what L'Assurance de la Teste was able to do. If you want to see Space City, though, North America is going to be later today. I want to recap some of the maps we've seen today while we wait on a leaderboard to get updated, Tiff, and really the action. And I think I want to hear from you, especially having seen this for the first time here on broadcast. What'd you think of the format now that you've seen it all the way front to back? What'd you think about all of our maps? Did you have a favorite?
No favorite here, but honestly, loved it. 10 out of 10, would totally cast again, and we will for North America later today. But I love that we kind of got... It was more of a roller coaster ride. Of course, we start out on 0 dam. You don't have a Mandel brick spawning in, and it's kind of the initial test of what our finals teams are going to do alongside each other. And that initial map did result in a lot of fights, and the fighting didn't stop as soon as we moved on over to the back-to-back brackish rounds. Of course, one with a Mandel brick, one without. And they both brought the different strategies. Of course, you do see Madre Mia in map number 2 looking to grab the Mandel brick early on. We even get a third party from maybe one of the biggest enemies. Not only time, but it was the Black Hawk, right? The helicopter coming in, making sure that they're putting a thorn in the side of all the teams when that Mandel brick is essentially trading hands. Now, when you think about it, I'm going to skip over map 3 because of course that wasn't a Mandel brick round. Sure, a ton of chaos with the fighting, but when you get to the win condition where L'Assurance de la Teste could close it out, did I think we would see that Mandel brick changing more hands? 100%. And you heard it from Zapok himself. Like, dude, when everyone was looking to make a crazy play onto that, he's like, I had a jump shot. I hit him through. Like, we're threading needles with bullets, like, just based off where the lasers we're seeing. That's just the craziest part about it all. They had to be flawless, and they were.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way of putting it because they really were flawless. And also, I think one thing he said that I thought was really fun to think about is like, if I was in that clutch up moment, if I was under that much pressure, everybody compiling, I would be so focused on making sure nobody steals the Mandel brick that I don't think I would focus on the fights as much. I would be a hair behind. And you heard Zap say, he was like, we were only focused on the fights. Just kill everybody that comes into our sites and we win. And focusing on those fights, win them the entire tournament, let alone the map, getting that Mandel brick. So yeah, again, great job from them. But overall, yeah, a great effort from all of our teams. I love the late tournament kind of resurgence from RVG. You got to remember, we only played 4 games. The first 2, they got wiped nearly immediately. Got absolutely nothing in their safe boxes, nothing. And then they get into game 3 and have one of the biggest games of the day, winning that fight, like you mentioned in Brackish, up there in the Tower of Babel. And then they get out with crazy loot. Obviously, they find a couple gold items, a couple red items, looking really strong on the loot value total. And they just couldn't quite execute in the final moments against Project Lane, which is a hair of a mistake with one forward player trying to catch an off angle. And they were ready for it. Project Lane was, that's for sure. So yeah, some really fun moments on the day, and always good to look back on each of these moments and get to learn from it. This is the first time this tournament format has seen main stage for the European and North American regions will be today. And so everybody's still learning. Everybody's still trying to figure out operator comps. Yeah, I think the next question while we're waiting on these scores is also, from the operator comp side, what'd you think? I mean, the 2 limit, less necessarily metas, I think is going to be the question. It's like, when we talk operations, like, oh, we've got a meta. This is what most people usually use. Viren, Luna, Stinger is super helpful, especially if you're, somebody newer to the game and don't want to bring in meds. But in this format, you got to use everything. And I think it comes down to like the comp between the 3 operators you guys decide to choose. What'd you think about that limitation? I mean, we saw every operator on the map today.
Yeah, like my brain is just like spinning when it comes to all the different nuances that come with the operator limit. And what did we see for some of our teams? Well, they burned through Stinger a lot in those earlier rounds, but something you just said is exactly why we probably saw that. Each player starts with 1 million Technic Alloy. And if you want to focus on building out a weapon that you're like, this is what it's going to take to be able to annihilate all the other teams in the round, then we're going to burn through Stinger because we have those meds available to us. So maybe that's kind of what they were thinking, but we did see some teams go through them back to back in games 1 and 2. However, some were preserving Stinger for those later rounds. Other operators, like you said, that we saw go pretty much immediately, where I believe 2 out of the 6 teams decided, hey, we want Nox for our operator that just gives us a lot of the silent potential, right? Our flanks. We just really want to be destructive in our engagements going up, and they kind of burned that. But we also saw teams prioritizing saving them for the later rounds when the Mando bricks were spawning. So it's tough when you think about people on your roster, because not only do you have to have them having amazing gun skills, you have to know that they can flex and play on any operator and adapt to anything that is happening through our 6-game series. Not only the maps, but all the Mandel bricks and all the different nuances. God, this Delta Force, I love you. I see what you're doing. You're making me happy. My brain's spinning. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way to put it, Tiff. It's been really fun to talk through all the nuances, because you're right, it does get your brain spinning. I said this before, I'll say it again. In the semifinals, there was a lot of conversation around the teams going, we need a coach. We got to get a coach ASAP. Because having one extra person that's not actually focused on gameplay to think about, hey, what should we bring in next round? What operators should we look at next round because of the map or because of the map situation was super interesting. My brain was spinning around that idea of, there's basically 2 different strategies shown. One team says, we want to take these 3 operators in for the first 2 maps no matter what, right? It was like, I think it was Hat Claw and then Stinger and then their third, which I think it was like D-Wolf or something like that. But anyways, they use both of those off the rip. All of them are gone. Whereas Madre Mia said, we're using 6 different operators for the first 2 maps. And so because they did that, they have a lot more flexibility when the map is, dire. And we've got, we're going into the second Mandel Brick round. One team's already got a Mandel Brick. It's 0 damage. We've got to adjust. I don't know. That is something to consider. But folks, our mathematicians behind the scenes are going to take a little bit longer to get the scores ready. We know the champions. We likely know the second place team. But we're going to take a very short break here in the booth to get the final leaderboard, because there is a lot of prizing. And we're going to talk MVPs right after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Chaos. It is the improvisation of fate. Chaos. The art of breaking free from the confines of reality. When the raven cries, millions of wings will tear the night apart.
Claire, time to escort the Raven.
The time has come.
To the lower cell!
Do you read poetry, my friend? For it tells us not what has happened, but what is going to happen.
Your mission is to rescue an inmate with intel on Skynet, so why start a riot?
Don't look at me, mate. I was working on the toilet.
Track him down and contact Zoya.
A divine messenger has guided me to your rescue. You are free.
No. Firstly, it wasn't a divine messenger. Just a little birdie. Secondly, I've always been free. You're the ones trapped in order.
Inmates have taken the control room and activated tidal defense system.
It's all part of this madman's plan!
That guy doesn't look like he's asking for help.
Zoya was tricked by a birdie.
The guests have arrived. Now let the chaos thicken! Then, Nithor. The air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen sensor. Swung by angels whose faint footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor.
GTI. Watch out! There's hallucinogens in the smoke!
Luna!
Luna?
Wretch, I cried. These forces lent thee by these spirits it had sent thee.
No!
Quoth the raven, nevermore. Don't. They'll feel the blade of betrayal pierce their hearts just as I have.
Tidal lock defense protocol fully engaged. Area is on the brink of complete
I don't know what's
submersion.
going on between you two, but we gotta pull out. Now!
Order, the formula of fate. With chaos, fate's writing poetry.
大家好，我是 Shadow， 非常高兴 Delta Force 规模非常大的新赛季即将推出，也特别期待大家的反馈。关于大家一直想要的主机版本，我们一直在努力的在做准备。今天终于有一个好消息会告诉大家 ，Delta Force 的主机版本将在8月19日正式推出，会登陆 PS5、Xbox 并且是免费游玩的。黑鹰坠落也会作为免费 DLC 推出。再过几个小时，我们的主机版本的商店页面即将开放请大家记得把我们添加进入心愿单。同时呢，我们也会推出一个超值的主机平台的礼包，然后现在购买可以在主机上线的时候获取。我们也将在7月份开启主机平台的先检技术测试，请大家关注我们的官网和各大的官方社区。我们也将在陆续发布一些招募的一些指引，欢迎大家来体验，也希望大家多多给我们提一些反馈意见，我们会对这些反馈意见做出很好的优化和修改。同时呢 ，Delta Force 是我们团队的第一款的跨端产品，也是我们首次在主机平台上的尝试。我们的团队花费了非常多的时间和心力，然后我们希望能够把产品打磨好，和大家见面。也感谢大家一直在耐心的等待和支持。我们会继续努力，会打磨好我们的主机版本。除此之外，我还想给大家带来一些全球电竞的新消息。今年呢，我们将举办首届的 Delta Force 烽火地带的全球总决赛。来自8大赛区的顶级战队将在烽火地带的战场上角逐首个全球的总冠军头衔。各个赛区的预选赛也将逐步的开展，每一位玩家都有机会参与。更多的消息请关注我们的官方社区。最后，我想真心的感谢所有的玩家在社区里面给我们反馈了非常多有价值的意见，也一起创作了很多有趣的话题和内容。过去几个月，我们看到了非常多各种各样充满创造力和想象力的作品不断的在社区里面出现，整个团队其实是非常喜欢也非常开心的，也期待有更多的一些内容在社区里面出现。谢谢大家，让我们一起打造更好的 Delta Force。
Havoc has brought about the dawn of a new age. But now, my friends, insatiable tumor has descended upon this land, plundering our homes, harming our families, but threatening the bright future of Asara. For too long they have gone unchallenged, and they have infested the very core of our society. We must drive these rats out! Now is the time for change! Now is the time for judgment!
Let me detect first.
Stay on high alert. Don't let Havoc's lackeys escape.
are back, folks. I hope you got a meal in during that break. We had a lot of math behind the scenes. Like I said, we know who won this whole dang thing, but the difference between teams was minuscule for the rest of this prizing, to a point where we had to track every single number down to the single digit. Here's our final scores for the competition. It was unbelievably close, and you'll now see why on our leaderboard. Unreal. L'Assurance de la Teste, again, as a reminder, they won a while ago. 13.3 mil overall is fantastic, but that number doesn't matter at all. They got 2 bricks and the win. They are your champions. Project Lane, as expected, crushed that last map, Tiff, and because of that, they jumped way up there into second place. Now everybody at home can see the issue. Let's take a look at these two teams, both at 9.9 mil. Madre barely had more going into that map. They both get out with 0, and you can see the overall numbers. 9.9 overall versus 9.9 for RVG. We broke it down to middle school numbers, and it was thousands of difference. That's it. Just a couple thousand. It was unreal, and big congratulations to all of our teams, but that's why it took us so long. And you can even see Overgear was insanely close as well, right behind at 9.75 mil, and then LSP at 7.1 mil. It was an unreal competition, nail-biting performances, and extremely close. But here's our final scores for the day. And Tiff, it was a wild one. There's no question about it.
It really was, and wild to see it come that close, right? Between Madre Mia and RVG. And you have to think about it this way. That initial bout comes down to the final battle, the final engagement between Project Lane and RVG on that last map in Zero Dam. Imagine if things had changed.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, even 1 kill, that's the thing. If RVG gets 1 kill on Project Lane, then they're able to do it. It's that close. But we got to talk about MVPs. This is where rubber meets the road, because yes, we had L'Assurance de la Teste at the top. Project Lane almost sneaks in with Bibic with 4 kills, almost sneaks in and grabs the MVP. But guess what? Zap not only won the tournament, but also wins the Game 4 round MVP. And because of that, I think we know where we're headed. We've got to take a look at the overall MVP, which means Zap, congratulations. Your team might have won thousands of dollars, but you also as an individual are the MVP of the European Operation Finals. Huge congrats to you. That's going to be 3 round MVPs out of 4 games played. And I am incredibly impressed with not only Zap, but that whole team. So big congrats to them. Absolutely earned, Tiff.
That MVP race is super L'Assurance de la Teste coded, but let's keep on moving as we pull up the standings. L'Assurance de la Teste, after grabbing those 2 Mandel bricks, ending the tourney right there on Zero Dam and map number 4, $4,000. And of course, Zapok taking home that extra $1,000 down there for MVP. And look at the scale right here. That's why it was so close. That's why our mathematicians behind the scenes were making sure that everything came as accurately as possible, because it is a massive breakdown between the places.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You can see that breakdown all the way through. Again, L'Assurance de la Teste did win $4,000. Zap does pick up $1,000, but even LSP's walking away with some cash, even though they were technically last. It was extremely close, and a big jump between 3rd and 4th. So 333 apiece for Madre, and 500 shared between 3 for RVG in that tiebreaker. So dang close all the way down the board. But a big congrats to all of our teams for competing today. You've won a sizable amount of cash, and I am proud of you. I'm proud of you for making it here today and having an opportunity to win some cash. You had to work all the way through the semifinals to make it to this stage. You were able to execute on main stage. A great day in the office for the folks at home that were able to compete in this competition. And Tiff, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of them in the future with hopefully more operations competitions. You already told me what you thought of the day, but I want to give you a moment. Any final words for the broadcast before we close this thing out?
Nah, just give it your all. I know those North American homies were probably lurking in this Delta Force broadcast, looking to see how the Europe operations were faring. Well, write your notes down and good luck, have fun. Maybe you can channel your inner L'Assurance de la Teste domination, but you already heard the words that Zapok had for you. He wants to wish you guys the best of luck, but also that they're coming for you in world domination.
That's exactly right. North America right around the corner. Thanks, Tiff. You're an absolute blast having you in the booth, and we'll see you a little bit later today. Folks at home, thank you for hanging with us today. This was a fun one. A quick tournament and then a lot of math behind the scenes, but we got there and we got all of our teams. They're going to get paid out. But guess what? you can get paid in watching more Twitch streams. We've got drops active all the way through the Delta Force Global League Finals, which is this weekend. We only have one more competition to go, so make sure you get your drops in while you watch the later competition. North America, right around the corner, 7 p.m. Central Time. That's 5 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be live right here for the North American Finals. You're not going to want to miss it. If you thought Europe was good, I think North America, I'm not biased. I think North America is going to be even better. Not going to want to miss it. Make sure you tune in a couple hours. And as always, I got to remind you to drop a follow wherever you're watching, and that we couldn't do it without you, the viewer. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in just a couple hours.